I got the translucent hat on today. I don't even hear nothing about that. We in the stew, baby. All right, so this is another highly requested video by our community. I have seen this one for years. You guys have asked me to see what I think about the behavioral panel and what my thoughts are. Honestly, I feel like in this one, it's really just so you guys have some context. I'm not a behavioral expert, but as you know, I can read Lori very well. So I'm just going to give you guys my honest opinion about anything they say. And if they're reading it correctly, that can be kind of up for debate. I'm not really here to shut them down. It's more just like, hey, I'll let you know if I feel like everything they're saying is accurate. So we're gonna get into it. It's a little bit of a longer video. It's about 1:30. So let's get right to it. Good to see you guys. It's good to see my warriors, my chiefs, my mother freaking ones, our whole community. Welcome to the stream. And let's get going. Hopefully we don't get our stream shut down. So we'll try.
Today, we're going to talk about Lori Vallow Daybell. She's been back in court again, and Greg, tell us about the videos we're going to watch.
Yeah, this video is after she was convicted of killing or being involved in the killing of her ex-husband. This is 4 cases that she has been linked to, and she's going to have a conversation with a local reporter.
Wow.
You guys good? Yeah, cool.
Oh, this is her.
It's
Brianna
been an
one.
interesting 2.5 weeks.
Has it only been that long?
Yeah,
Has it been like
feels a little longer, I would say.
Yeah. Went fast.
It went fast. Guilty. Did you expect that?
No.
Not at all.
I mean, obviously, I knew that's possible.
There's something about her eyes. I do not know how to explain it. There is something about her eyes that are a little different. And I don't. The eyes are the window to the soul. Let's just put it that way. And I'm telling you, there's something about her eyes that are throwing me off ever since I've seen her face. I don't see her face often.
Ability, yeah. So it was a bit of a surprise, actually.
What made you surprised that it went that direction?
I mean, I shouldn't be surprised knowing what I know about the judicial system and how it works. So it still was. Just you were there, so from what happened, I was surprised at that outcome.
And we didn't really see any noticeable.
I swear it's like, yeah, there's something going on with her eyeballs. I'm automatically pointing that out. Just for me personally, watch how much how uncomfortable she is, right? Again, we're supposed to be talking about somebody who is not guilty in their own eyes, but she's so squirmy and uncomfortable.
Reaction from you, or really anybody else in the courtroom when that verdict was read. When you did hear it, what was your first thought?
So it's not a secret that I had a near-death experience, right? I talked about
it. Is a secret. How many times do we have to say that? When did you have this experience? You never shared this.
it at my sentencing. And when you have that experience and you go to the other side of the veil, you understand, you have a life review. You see your whole life, everything that happened to you, and you see what's important and what's unimportant.
Why would you have a life review if God knows you're not going to die? That's my only question. Why would you go through a review process and then come back?
And you see what matters in life. So what matters in life is how you react to things, how you treat other people, and the love that you give while you're here on earth. And that's it.
So you felt not reacting.
That's what matters. Okay. Yeah, you've treated everybody with the utmost respect.
Was the best call in that moment.
No, I felt like I should have joy in every situation, which is what I was taught to do in heaven. So.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
Everything about this setup is manufactured authenticity. We have these raw camera shots. These kind of the mics are visible in the shot now. Mark has a whole video on this of like people wanting their mics to be in the view of the podcast, and it's all there.
Hey, listen. My mic is in view because that's just what it is. What are you starting all this hate for, Chase?
And there's casual small talk, and they leave the small talk in there like, oh, are we ready? Are we ready to film? Is everything working? So it's engineered, I think, to make Lori look more real, approachable, maybe even harmless. Who knows? But right here, she's relaxed. She's smiling. She's fully composed. Her hair is curled and makeup's done. But she doesn't show hardly any nonverbal leakage. There's no signs of fear, shame, discomfort here. And I think this is critical. And
I disagree, because I don't think he's seen her when she wasn't nuts. You know what I mean? I don't think he's seen her in any kind of other state. she to me is already uncomfortable. And she's already, you can tell that she almost feels, I almost feel like this is rehearsed. It feels very rehearsed. Like this whole story about the near death, all of those things, she had to pitch herself that over time. And so it feels rehearsed in my opinion.
Guilty people are facing a conviction or have just faced a conviction for something horrifying like this. Some level of emotional strain typically leaks through, and whether they want it to or not. But right here, Lori's at home. Her comfort to me is in just...
No, it's a performance. It's not home. And this, again, this is not to dismiss anything that these experts say. Please don't take any offense to what I'm saying. Like, I am not doubting their ability to read or do their job. I'm simply telling you that version you're seeing is the rehearsed version, because or imagine how many years of time has been going on where she has been in a cell practicing, maybe even before she was in a cell, that she's been saying the same thing to her. So at this point, it's just a rehearsed character. She's almost playing a character. If I could give you guys any kind of context, Lori has become a character and she's rehearsed to be that character. This is not the Lori that everyone saw before. They're just glimpses of humanity in there.
Surprising. It's diagnostic. And her words kind of seal the deal. So instead of acknowledging the gravity of her conviction, she reframes it in some kind of spiritual lens and doesn't talk about right and wrong. She talks about having joy in every situation. So she sidesteps this moral responsibility and kind of floats into this religious abstraction.
Yeah, she's a narcissist. This is about her. Everything that's happened to her is about her. This whole case is about her and Chad. They are so special. They are chosen. The only reason they're in jail is because they're chosen. That's why she's making it about her.
I'll call it. And this is what we call in psychology, this is called cognitive reframing. So it's using a belief system to delete accountability. So she's not responding to the facts of her case at all.
Right.
She's responding to a personal story that she's kind of written in her head. So she's not fighting against reality.
He's right.
Like we typically see in guilty people. She has replaced reality. She's not up against it. And she's emotionally comfortable because this version of the story where this spiritual stuff is the supreme thing, it's more real than the one where her children are dead because of her actions.
Exactly.
And it's not calmness, I don't think. I don't think she's calm.
No, she's not calm. You're right. He's right about that. She's not calm. She's just presenting herself in a very, very specific way. She's playing her role very, very well.
He looks at, I think she is detached from reality, and those are different
100%.
things. And I think that detachment is one of the clearest windows into the pathological thinking that we're about to unpack here in these next few videos. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I like that, Chase.
You're right. It's interestingly manufactured because everybody looks like they've just walked out of the salon, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody looks fantastic. But given that later on we're going to get this idea of, how badly women are being treated in these jails, it's like, well, it looks quite opulent from how everybody's.
Yeah, remember the tangent about the teeth? What it is just deferment. Everything that Lori says is a sidestep around what the context is. You ask a question and she starts talking about people's teeth.
Looking there. Anyway, Brianna Whitney, really nice interview throughout this from her. Quite interesting. 5 Emmy Awards, 2 Associated Press Awards. So she's doing pretty well as an interviewer. Just thought I'd put that in there because I quite like what she's having to contend with here and how she's handling this. It's been
my only critique of her, and in no way, shape, or form am I a reporter. I'm just saying, the thing is, when you get with Lori, the only reason she'd allow you to interview her, except for with me, because there wasn't parameters there. I asked her to interview. She said yes, and I asked my questions, and obviously I tried to keep it level, and I did let her talk, but that's kind of what I noticed everyone else. She didn't want to be pressed, and so if she knew if you were going to press her much, she wouldn't have taken the interview because she didn't want to be pressed. And so I guess it's always like letting her just say whatever she wants is my only critique.
An interesting 2.5 weeks, says Brianna, and Valo minimizes. Has it only been that long? So she's already cutting down the offer that the interviewer is making. It went, and Valo says it went fast. Well, those two things are mismatched already. Has it only been that long? It went fast. Has it only been that long? It went fast. That doesn't make sense to me. Mismatch of evaluation there.
Right. Yeah, you don't understand the concept of the time that it's been, but it went fast. Yeah, that's weird. I almost started talking in a British accent because I'm not. I almost said, yeah, you're right, bruv. That's not really British. I always mix accents together. Frick it, this is off topic.
Whitney joins in with the mismatch. So some good mirroring there from the interviewer when I think Valo is already trying to cut her down, to minimize on her.
That's right.
What made you surprised that it went in that direction, says Whitney, and Whitney shows contempt. The side of the mouth goes up. So I would say she's poking at Valo's sense of control. She lost
They're going deep in here.
Control of this case, and there's contempt from the interviewer that she lost contempt for her, I think. And then Valo comes in and plays this near-death experience. I'm enlightened.
Hey, I want to just address something. Does Lori deserve to be called Valo? No, but legally she is. I don't think she ever changed her name to Daybell. I just call her Lori, but to refer to her would be to call her Valo. I don't think they ever legally changed their names. I don't know that for a fact though.
It's a tough one to beat. If you're in a conversation with somebody and there's a bit of argy-bargy going on, there's a bit of play going on, and somebody goes, well, of course, I died and came back from the dead. So, there's that.
And again, that goes back to, I just thought of something. If you have a near death, okay, so never mind, because she never claimed to really have truly died. Well, actually, yes, she did, which would be in the realm of Jesus, right? So that just kind of hit me just now. I wonder if that was the credential of like thinking you're more in the God status, is if you've died and come back. Only one person's ever done that, which would be Jesus, who you believe in. But if you have the same exact experience and you have died and went to heaven and then came back, but she uses the term near death. So near death doesn't truly mean you died. What the hell is near death? I'm near death with my meningitis every day. I don't understand what near death what you would consider near death. Like if your body started to float away, I don't understand that.
Tough one, unless you've died and come back from the dead more times, and that will come up. That will come up. But unless you've, gone to heaven and back again several times, you can't really go, well, no, I've got, I have more experience of that than you, and therefore, you should really engage with me as a peer. Valo already is saying, I will not engage with you. 5 Emmy Awards, 2 Associated Press Awards, and others.
Oh, she doesn't care. Let me tell you something straight up. Lori does not care. Lori in this scenario, okay? Lori is man, this makes so much sense. She is playing this whole movie out in her head. She's the main character. Everybody hates her. She is embracing part of it. She's playing this role. And so I feel like you need to understand, she doesn't care who's talking to her, which is why she was the way she was with Keith. She knows they are there for her, and she knows she's a main character. I'm telling you that. Even in her disassociative state, I think she knows and she loves it, hence why she did all of this press.
I will not engage with you as a serious person right now. Greg, what do you got on this one?
So, Mark, a couple of things. I love the fact you brought that up about hanging out with people who've had near-death experiences. In my opinion, if you've had more than one, I don't want to hang out with you. Something is wrong, and I don't want to be there. But really weird start. She does a Prince Andrew. She does in the Navy, but she went up to him and says in heaven. You got to love that when you isolate. Let's talk for a minute about some of the language she uses, because this is very LDS-specific language. She's talking about behind the veil, beyond the veil. Mm-hmm. You might understand it, but it is common language in LDS. And I'm not saying she's a good practicing Mormon, LDS, whatever you want to call them, but she is a sect, a very narrow sect of that. Mm-hmm. And I think even her and her last husband, Daybell, actually were even more narrow, more cult-like. So they're going to have this language that's very dense and ancient.
And the veil thing, there's not a lot of, that's the point. Like you don't, the LDS religion believes that when you were born, you are veiled, right? So your past pre-mortal life that you lived in heaven with God, you would not remember that for reasons, so that way you could focus on their mission at task. The point of being LDS and saying the veil has been torn, meaning, okay, so there's 2 practical applications to that. The veil of heaven was torn because Jesus died. That tore the veil. But in this context, them saying I had my veil torn, or whatever the case, the context is I remember everything, and this is where the multiple lives come into play, and the multiple, you know, probations and all of that stuff, because now they're saying they have knowledge that no one else in the world has, because they can remember being in the premortal existence and all of the lives. Now, let's just ground in the LDS religion by itself. If you were LDS and you had a premortal existence and came back, it opens the door for a million premortal. Like, you would never be able to stop that cycle of how many times you've been in heaven to versus when you come back. But the mainstream LDS church, I have never heard that when I was growing up and I was LDS, that they believed that you ever come back. It was just the premortal existence. I hope that makes sense.
To your point, their reality is real more than your reality is real. So it allows them to say, the good Lord forgave me, so everything's okay.
So Bank of America got hacked again, and instead of telling you, they sat on it
What the
for
living hell?
room $1 million. That's not protection. That treat breaches like it's a PR issue. So
Conversation.
.com/TVP, you'll find out what's already out there before it finds you.
That's okay to stay
Hey,
there.
if you're being hacked, go get you some, go get you Aura.com.
Arizona is not necessarily going to forgive you, so you will end up in prison. And then she's going to go to in the Navy, from in the Navy to in prison later. So, okay, she's going to constantly shift language and change language so she can
I
frame the
got premium and we still got hit with a net.
conversation. It's showing what she's done her entire life, you can guarantee. That nodding and smiling, that's a way to connect. It's a way to try to get that person in the mirror, realize you've synced with that person, and then you've got them so that you can talk to them, and you've got some kind of rapport. Whatever that rapport is, whether it's good or bad, I guarantee you every person she talks to, she's going to try that very thing, and we'll see it intensify. I mean, she's also, I think you're dead on, Chase. I think she'd take any kind of publicity you can give her, because I think she desires it and needs it. And Scott, you may have a reason why she needs it, because this whole thing is an interesting one. Watch her arch her neck and tilt her head back. That's exactly the opposite of defiance. When I expose my neck and I tilt my head back but don't thrust my chin, she's curled in her body. That's making her
She's tense. That's what you don't like. Watch her shoulders, watch her neck, watch her forward, watch her posture. Just watch it. I'll bring it up when it comes back up.
look less confrontational, and this looks like something she's done a million times. And then she starts fishing that knowing the judicial system and how it works. Listen to that space she leaves in there to see if the woman's going to respond back. That's a fishing move by her. Whether it's instinctive or something she's doing intelligently, it's there, whatever it
She's
is.
so much more intelligent than anybody gives her credit for. And I have to give her credit for her ability to manipulate. And I don't know, and this is an honest question, I don't know if she's aware of how well she can manipulate. I don't know if she's like keen, or if it's just truly like second nature. It's like breathing. I don't know, but it's there, and it is very convincing unless you see outside of it, but it's very convincing.
And then just as you walk through it, just the other side of the veil, that's in the Navy. She separates herself to explain away behavior. Hey, look, this is something you can't possibly understand. And she's going to get even more dense with it. If you're don't have any exposure to LDS folks and you don't know their prophets and all that kind of stuff, her language will even get to be weirder because it won't make any sense to you, even if you're a practicing Christian. She was taught to have joy in every situation. I guess that's why she's here with it. Well, I'll just leave it with this. What she has done is she's got firsthand knowledge, and she's holier than thou right out of the gate. She is more important, more enlightened, all of those pieces we all said. The body language just fits right into it. Chase,
100%. 1000%. That's exactly right.
I agree with you. She doesn't seem to show any stress because she's enlightened. She knows something better than you do. Scott, what do you see?
All right. Well, Mark, going to what you said about the body language of the interviewer and how good she is, let me tell you something, man. They're polar opposites. I mean, of course, Lori's all handcuffed up and all that, but the interviewing woman, holy smokes, her illustrators are just spot on. Everything she does, it's all about keeping her attention. You know, because I think Lori Vallow is kind of I don't know if she's spacey or airhead or whatever, but man, she goes off on all these wild, crazy tangents as we go through this. Now, right out of the gate, she gets into fading facts when, and she's not very confident when she says guilty. Did you expect that? I mean, she gives no reasons whatsoever why she was surprised, you know, with that. And she acts like she was talking about being surprised. She doesn't say why, and that's basically what she's asking her. Why would you be surprised at something like that? And we didn't see any noticeable reactions from you or the courtroom. Well, they didn't see noticeable reactions because she probably doesn't know how to do that. She probably doesn't know how to give the, oh my gosh, she doesn't know how to do the reactions we usually use. Greg and I were talking yesterday because I was like, my wheelhouse is being able to tell you if somebody is or lean on being able to tell you if somebody's being honest with you about something. It's mostly law enforcement stuff. When you get into the psychological perspective of somebody like this, for me, it's a little bit tough. So we talked about going down the road. What if she's a psychopath? That kind of thing. And Greg pointed out that when you're dealing with a personality type like this one, then since they don't know how to act in public or with other people and socially, what they'll do is they'll get themselves in a position where they tell you how to act. Something that's really structured, like the military or the church. And in this case, it's this religion.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing too. I think for her, when you listen to her, listen to how fast it goes back to her. Like nothing you ever touch on touches anything of substance. It always somehow becomes about her, no matter what you bring up. And I think that's the other thing that I always noticed. And that's not new behavior, but that's definitely been amplified in these cases.
She's part of a religion, but I think she's just wound this thing up, like you were saying, Greg, so specifically that there's these rules she's trying to stay in. As she goes back and forth and bounce around that box, the box gets bigger, and that's why things start getting weird on the outsides of the concept of that religion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I haven't said this out loud yet. I've just got the concept for it, but
remember, psychopaths and sociopaths do not feel the same things that the general person would. The normal person feels emotions or bad or shame, those things. They really don't feel that, especially the psychopath. So what I've seen is psychopaths, I think they do is study human behavior so much to the point where they have to act as if they're sad in certain moments. They cue themselves like actors because it is acting. And I think that's what I see the most is her act.
She's not out of control, but I think when things happen for her, it's like a bird or a chicken. You know, when they make those real quick little moves and their heads pop, you're seeing that synapse happen right that second. And that's why they move like that. There's nothing really smooth about those movements. So I think that's why her movements are so tight and jerky and move around like that, because she's not thinking ahead of time about what she's going to say very often. There may be a little bit of time, but not much at all. So I think she's just reacting as those thoughts come to her head, and she's not really structuring or editing or anything else when it comes to those.
She's saying she's off the cuff for sure. But the thing is, a lot of the practice is the story, right? She's surprised that she's being convicted, right? It's the same dance, the backward dance that her and Chad have done, since they got caught, is now we didn't do anything wrong. This is all crazy. It's the backward dance of I'm a good person. I never believed in zombies, and just everything they said that led to the destruction is now been backwalked. So I think that's the point, is the manufactured ideas, right? Chad writing his letters. I haven't read those letters since we covered them here on the channel. And it's really just them both manufacturing a story on what happened.
Illustrators are at this point are minimal. Her volume goes up and down. We see these bursts of energy and where she talks fast and slows down and speeds up a little bit. There's one section in here in one of these videos we're going to see where it's just like a fireworks show compared to what we're seeing now. So I think, and then the romancer. Greg and I have a thing in the True Crime Workshop called the romancer, where the person just talks to you and they get all up in your business and they want to connect with you and be friends with you. They try their hardest to get your attention off of everything else but them as they deliver their here's what happened story. Or here's how things are going, trying to get you to believe what they believe or listen to them. So this is just a big old bunch of behavior that is
big old bunch of behavior. that'd be a great shirt to wear. This is a big old bunch of behavior.
Fascinating when you look at it. At the same time, it's if you found yourself in this position, if you started acting that way or knew somebody that did, out of nowhere, it would just be bizarre. So I think I'm under the impression she's been this way for a long time, for a really long time. And she ended up in this situation because people can control that type of person. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. What?
This is the thing she's on trial for right now is the thing we covered the video on before. If you remember, she's meditating, had her legs crossed and all that stuff, Scott. So you're illustrating exactly what she did.
Yeah. All right. We good?
Yeah.
You guys good? Yeah. Cool. Well, it's been an interesting 2.5 weeks.
Has it only been that long?
Yeah.
Has it been like
feels a little longer, I would say.
Yeah.
We go backwards?
It went fast. Guilty. Did you expect that?
Why we go backwards? Why do we restart?
No.
Not at all.
I mean, obviously I knew that's a possibility. Yeah. So it was a bit of a surprise, actually.
What made
I
you
feel like she talks with her neck. She talks with this. This is restlessness. And you guys know I'm ADHD. I can lose my train of thought, but this is the whole time you're talking, having to physically move, I feel like she's having to force the words out of her body.
Surprised that it went that direction.
I mean, I shouldn't be surprised knowing what I know about the judicial system and how it works. So it still was just, you were there. So from what happened.
See, it's weird that it's like she wants to place people. She wants to place people in the scenarios to almost ground them to her fake story. Does that make any sense? Like you weren't there or you were there, and like saying you were there, you watched the whole trial, almost like you were part of this situation. You know, you like, it's weird. I don't know how to explain what I'm saying, but I feel like this specific thing is she does this all the time. It's either you weren't there, so you don't know, or you were there and you do know.
I was surprised at that outcome.
And we didn't really see any noticeable reaction from you or really anybody else in the courtroom when that verdict was read. When you did hear it, what was your first thought?
So it's not a secret that I had a near-death experience, right?
You can't answer a question. You can't answer a question. By the way, just on a happy note, because this is already pissing me off. On a happy note, Kelsey's birthday is tomorrow. My beautiful wife is going to be 28 years old tomorrow. So happy early birthday to her. We will not be streaming tomorrow because I want to go and enjoy time with her, but it is going to be her birthday. But back to the point of her saying, she goes into, it's no, like, how did you go back from the question to your near-death experience?
Talked about it at my sentencing. And when you have that experience and you go to the other side of the veil, you understand, you have a life review. You see your whole life, everything that happened to you, and you see what's important and what's unimportant. And you see what matters in life. So what matters in life is how you react to things.
Okay, so let's write down all the things that matter in life from someone who's been to heaven and back multiple times. How you react, okay?
How you treat other people.
How you treat others, okay?
And the love that you give while you're here on earth.
Well, and when you come 45 times, when you guys come 45 times, does it matter?
So you felt not reacting was the best call in that moment?
No, I felt like I should have joy in every situation, which is what I was taught to do in heaven.
Not even an answer.
And I know with our interview,
I'm worried. You know, Arizona Crime came at us when we were streaming this interview and we were talking about it. So hopefully this isn't F with us too.
Reference to family tragedy, and that was something that we heard in your opening and your closing arguments.
Right, absolutely.
But that phrase bothered a lot of people who know what happened in a totality, right?
Who knows what happened in totality besides me?
Exactly. You're damn right about that. You're the only one that knows exactly what happened. You are the main catalyst of all of this. So you're damn right about one thing. Rare win there.
Well, I think everybody who's seen that you've been convicted of now
wrongly
four
convicted.
deaths.
Wrongly convicted, yes.
So if you say that you were wrongly convicted of the deaths of your children,
yes,
who killed them?
So
look at her face. Look at the eyes. Immediate diversion.
Oh, you know from my interview with Colby that I told him what really happened.
Did you hear that she's using that interview as if that were the truth? And she knew it was an interview. I told you guys that.
And so that's just what happened.
Can you put that into your own words here?
I could, but I would probably save that for my next trial. So
I want to ask you a little bit about the testimony.
Her next trial was Brandon. That had nothing to do with the kids or anything.
Obviously, this was your first time. I mean, you're not an attorney. What was that like cross-examining people for you, getting up there and having to be able to put into words your questions properly? You got a lot of objections and kind of had to revamp there on the spot. What was that like for you?
It's harder than it looks.
Sure.
It's harder than it looks. It's stressful in a way. Like your brain has to be going 100 miles an hour. You know, I've been in jail for over 5 years, almost 6 years. So you don't really have to use your brain very much.
There it goes. It goes back to her. It will never cease to amaze me how much she can make this about her personal self, about herself, her life, her experience, whatever it is.
So it was like mathlete or something, you know, you're having to think all the time. So it was interesting. It was different than I thought it was going to be. It's difficult.
What was it like facing your brother for the first time in years?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know,
Facing your brother?
it all happened so fast.
So let's go back real quick. Did you see her list of her? You guys saw when they dropped her witness list. Her witness list was a revenge list. That list was purely about people she probably just wanted to go out on Stan. She got a few of them. She got to go at Kay, which didn't work out for her. She didn't go at Ray, but that was her intention. I know that.
Really kind of processing. I mean, yesterday was the first day I slept in like 3 weeks or so. So today I slept into a little bit. I knew you guys were coming. I was like, I better get up because, you know, I knew you guys were coming. But it was different than I thought.
Did you think that your interactions with Adam were positive between the two of you in the courtroom?
I didn't really think anything at the time. I was trying to be in just lawyer mode and kind of do my job at the time, you know.
Your fucking job. You wanted to represent yourself. You're not a lawyer. Why would I expect you to be rational?
It's hard because you have, being your own attorney, right? You're obviously emotional, and women were obviously more emotional than the men who get up and do it. But I tried to mostly be in attorney mode and try to stick to that.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
This is a really good one because we talk a lot of times about single shoulder shrugs. And there's a thing in here that looks almost like a double shoulder shrug because she's alternating shoulders so quickly. It's just
so twitchy. So twitchy.
Really weird body language of uncertainty. I think that she's just uncertain about how it's going to be perceived because she's going to speak a language that means nothing to this person. And of course, you might be like, do you believe that? Do you believe that? And that's a classic bullshitter move, that if you fish with light bait and they take it, then you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And Scott, I think that illustrates what you said about the box getting bigger. You get in there and you start pontificating and you start creating all this new knowledge.
Okay, look, Greg, I can follow a lot of what someone's saying, but if you say words like pontificating, I'm going to have to take a second and find out. I've been playing Boggle with Kelsey, but don't be throwing out pontificating. Come on now.
Wisdom. That sounds a hell of a lot like a cult to me. And it feels like she might be in her own little cult now that she's separated out. But there's more separation than smugness. She eye closes Chase to your closed eye talking at one point just before she starts doing the Macarena or whatever she's doing there. And she doesn't answer the question when she's offered an answer. She does a point back to, like I told the other guy. That's classic for us. When a person avoids the question by saying, I already told somebody that usually means, okay, I'm not going to answer because it will incriminate me in some way.
Exactly. Melanie Gibb. First thing I think is, how many times did Melanie Gibb, like I told you, remember I told you about that? Remember we talked about that? Yeah, exactly.
All this laughing and smiling is exactly that bonding piece. Look, she's just been convicted of murder, maybe for the second or third time, don't remember. And she's smiling and happy and got her makeup on just perfectly and all that kind of stuff. This is the organism doing what the organism has always done and it's been successful with, probably since high school or junior high school or somewhere like that. She tells you it's a good question, but she doesn't answer it. Another good leading indicator of bullshit. She says, I was in lawyer mode. You really want to go watch her in lawyer mode. I almost made the second thing we do this week her in lawyer mode because it's a good reason why you don't want to be your own lawyer. She steps in it really hard. There's one point where she's talking to a person that the guy that has been killed was dating and she didn't know about it. And the shock and all that is just great when she finds out about it in Discovery. So it's an opportunity to illustrate why you don't want to be.
Kelsey said, I'm obsessed with Boggle because I'm obsessed with getting really good at games. Colby hates me. No, she wants to play Boggle all the time, but she's like this Michael Jordan psychopath who once she gets locked in, she becomes the GOAT at whatever we play. So it becomes not fun. And she pontificates all the time.
Your own lawyer, and especially if you are not in touch with reality, because law is about motions and process and procedure, and I don't think she got that. She wasn't in lawyer mode, she was in something else like idiot mode because she's got Dunning-Kruger so bad that she thinks she can do anything. Maybe that's the whole problem. Maybe that's what we're seeing, is she thinks that she can walk her way through everything. She even uses it, she tries to soften, make herself less powerful by saying women are more emotional than men. And then she says, then male attorney, but she really means she's more emotional than an attorney because an attorney has no vested interest in her outcome except for victory or failure. And then the final one, I'm going to leave this one. Scott, you've talked about Chimera before. I'm going to talk about, look at her facial asymmetry in that last frame of that video. So, Scott, what do you got?
All right. I agree with you about that single shoulder shrug thing she's got going on. I've never seen that before. Because when she says wrongly convicted, that's when that happens. She goes, wrongly convicted. It's like, what is this about? It's just really weird. And she eye blocks during that as well. So that's
all that. And the lady that was in Houston.
The very same thing. The one by the car, you mean?
Yeah, where it was kind of like a little shoulder.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about Teresa
Balboa. Yeah, but the difference here is those were going.
I don't know who they're referring to.
There were more than just those.
Are they talking about when Lori addressed Nancy Joe? because Nancy Joe was not in Houston. Nancy was in Arizona.
On the same word twice, because she did one over here saying wrongly convicted and one over here saying wrongly convicted. Her chin didn't point toward it, but her head leaned toward it. She had, but that's close. But who knows what that one was doing, because there was so much of that going on. You know, it was that looked crazy. Yeah. So I've never actually seen that before. So there's a lot going on up there in this situation, and we see a single
going on up there. No, there's not. There's not it's not as complicated. It's just nutty.
Shoulder shrug, just for those who aren't familiar with what that suggests, is that it lets you know that person isn't confident with that answer. And so when she's eye blocking at the same time, that suggests to me that she doesn't believe that.
Yeah, she doesn't believe it, but she does. I think she's rehearsed enough. That's what I think. I feel like it's someone delivering lines. Oh, Tanya, thank you so much. That was so sweet of you. I'm going to give you a big heart on there. I didn't know I could do that.
Because we eye block when we hear something, or maybe we say something that we don't feel comfortable with, or if we're hearing something, if information is being introduced into a situation like a bad joke at work that, that's not safe for work, and somebody starts telling, you might close your eyes, you might eye block, or literally cover your eyes as that joke starts, because you know what's coming. So I don't think she's confident with that, and I don't think she believes that she was wrongly convicted. So yeah, that's what that'll do it for me. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so Greg, I've got on video 5 an extreme case of Dunning-Kruger effect coming up. So I'm looking forward to your view on that as well. And Greg, we should do that lawyer mode piece.
We will.
Sure.
I'm pulling video clips. I've got a few, but I'm pulling one so we can get good facial expression from behind. You can see your body going.
Right. Because she says herself when she is.
Here's my thing. I just don't know. I don't know if it really cared. How do you care? How could you care? How could you be mad at Nancy Joe? Like, I feel like that was a strategic move to make it look like she cared about her husband, so that way she could come off a certain way as if she was offended by Nancy Joe. But that makes zero sense, because she was cheating with Chad and wanted to be with Chad to the extreme, right? So that doesn't make any sense.
Confronted with her poor performance in that mode, she says
Dink says, Colby, does it ever stab your heart fully knowing your mother got lost in evil? It happened to me, and I'm way older than you, and sometimes it still gets me. I guess there's just nothing you can do about it. I mean, I was in that place where I was kind of pulling away from the reality of the situation, but once you just accept that there's nothing you can do, and this is your life, and this is who they are, and this is what they've chosen to be, I guess for me, it's just accepting it, knowing you can't do anything about it. So, I mean, I've fortunately worked through a lot of those issues with her to the point where I don't feel affected by her in the same way. It's the only reason we can do this and talk about this stuff. But I think that it always will affect you because it hurts you so badly. So you just have to work through it over time. That would be my answer.
It's harder than it looks. So my guess is, if we're ever to see her under real stress and pressure, it's got to be in that. And I would love to see that and take a look, and analyze that. So looking forward to that. Listen, I know before, Greg, you were saying she doesn't show defiance in video 1. I think in video 2 she is defiant. Who knows what happened in totality apart from me, she says. So she's basically gone, look, you haven't been to heaven and back again. You weren't there. So you, with all your awards, have no reason to question me whatsoever. Well, I think Whitney is great, because she comes in and goes, yeah, you're pretty poor performance as your own lawyer in that case. Really, there's a really nice battle going on between the two of them. So she faces her with her inability to act in her own defense. And so for me, Valo now...
And I think that also what's interesting is I'm confused a little bit by the fact that Lori would rather have a woman. And this has nothing to do with women, but just stick with me here. I felt like Lori is so much more of at this point in her life, so much more alpha woman that I'm surprised she even wanted to have a woman around. And I felt like maybe she'd want to have a man there, but maybe her experience with Dateline and with Keith was messy. I don't know.
Really ramps up this, as you guys call it, this romancer, this flirtation, not sexual flirtation, obviously, but this charismatic flirtation, super buoyant, super happy. It doesn't fit with the context. She's in jail. Yeah. We should expect some level of depression.
Yeah, you should be sad. Any person would not be in the places she is. That's the act. That's what we're trying to hit on here, is that no one have all this joy in these situations. She's already just said, I've been here for 5 years. There's a part of her that accepts enough of the reality and can at least acknowledge it verbally. But that is what this is that she knows I'm spending the rest of my life in here. Right? So there's a part of her that knows that this is the grim life she chose for herself. But at the end of the day, it's not her fault. So she has to come up with something. You have to go back to the dissociative state. That's where this all lies, is that she's in such a dissociative state that this is how she's getting through. Her brain is protecting her from accepting the reality of the situation, because I think that it would kill her if she let that stress come through.
And anger and upset, but there's none. It's like it's the best thing that's ever happened, and it's flirtatious with that. And that really ramps up for me the moment that the interviewer says, you were pretty terrible at being your own lawyer, weren't you? Bang, up it comes. Massive charisma comes out. Well, look, this is going to be no surprise to anybody, but what kind of person, when confronted with their own inabilities, is going to ramp up their style or their charisma, or they're taking you down? What kind of character does that? What kind of personality, might do that? That's possibly who we have here. Chase, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I liked all their analysis. I agree with a lot of their points. I'm just trying to give you guys the deeper side of some of this stuff, at least from my perspective. I could be wrong, but whatever.
One thing that stood out to me is Lori's sitting across from this reporter like she's on a podcast, not like she's serving jail time for murder. So she's calm and she's smiling, making this small talk. And that in itself is red flag number one for me. That people wrongly convicted of killing their kids usually show one of two things: rage or desperation.
Exactly. That's the point. Why? So if you are so wrongfully convicted, then why would you accept your situation? She obviously hasn't, though, because she's still appealing. But that's my point. She doesn't accept the reality of her. She wants to be right. That's all this is. She just wants to be in charge. But a part of her knows that she's being punished for her crimes.
And we don't see any of that here. She's comfortable, maybe too comfortable here, because she's not reacting to the weight of the crime. She's reacting to the opportunity to shape some narrative here, not the crime. So she says she was wrongly convicted, but she never asks who did it. She's not screaming for any kind of justice. There's no perpetrator out there in the wind who did these things. And
the problem is you need to give the context of what she said. She blamed Higley. This whole thing goes back to one simple point. Lori blames Higley for what happened, but then also acts like all her job. So this is the thing. Obviously, we can go back and forth. If we really analyzed my interview with Lori, I could pick apart every single thing that she said, every single thing, because it's so ridiculous. But Lori said, I'm in jail serving this time to protect Higley, but then blames Higley and basically makes everything her fault outside of Charles. So everything except for Charles is Higley's fault, because Higley stopped taking her medication and Higley went and did this and Higley turned and went again at JJ. But that's the projection. It's not Higley's fault at all. It's Lori needing somebody to blame and having someone to blame and projecting all of that onto Higley. And I think that was the relationship dynamic. It was all of Lori's insecurities and hatred and all the things that she struggled with, she projected to her daughter. That's how I look at that.
Says only I knew what really happened, and then kind of shrugs it off and says, I'm going to save it for my next trial. That's not grief. That's just narrative control. That's very plain and simple. But keep in mind that innocent people clarify, guilty people delay. Lori is keeping the truth, or her version of it, locked up because it's a tool. It's not the truth. It's a tool. So she's not out of options. She's apparently just kind of playing them slow. But she jokes about cross-examining people like it's a high school competition. I think she says it's like being a mathlete.
Yeah,
6 years.
She's acting like it's a movie. Again, get into her mind in this realm. She's in a character, and she doesn't feel the gravity of the situation.
Prison. 2 dead children, and she's talking about how hard it was to think on her feet in a courtroom. That's just emotional detachment. And that's the dangerous part here. She doesn't seem like a threat. She seems composed.
Exactly. Chase is killing. I feel like Chase, to me, has said all the things that just are 100% accurate.
And I just want to leave you with one thing here. The more composed somebody is when they shouldn't be, the louder that should be speaking to you. That should be screaming in your face. Let's have a look at another.
Circumstantial.
And I know with our interview, you referenced a family tragedy, and that was something that we heard in your opening and your closing arguments.
Right, absolutely.
But that phrase
Absolutely. I love it.
bothered a lot of people who know what happened in a totality, right?
Who knows what happened in totality besides me? Who
Well,
was there?
I think everybody who's seen that you've been convicted of now
wrongly
four
convicted.
deaths, four
Wrongly
deaths.
convicted.
Look,
yes.
look, exactly. The eyes. I mean, she can't even say it straight. Say it with your chest.
So if you say that you were wrongly convicted of the deaths of your children,
Yes.
who killed them?
So you know from my interview with Colby that I told him what really happened, and so that's just what happened.
Can you
So she wants her to reiterate it, and here's where her.
can
where
you
she
put
comes
that into
from.
your own words here?
I could, but I would probably save that for my next trial. So
Why is that funny? You would get the swear barrel. It's happening. I feel like I've done a good job without really saying anything, but this is it. You would be so destroyed. You would be beyond. You would be so. If this happened, you would be so unbelievably fucked up to the point where you couldn't even function. And then if you lost your children to that circumstance, then you said, okay, I'm just going to move on. I got to just move on, right? Because you got to move. I got to get away from her. I got to move myself. Frick dis. Can smell that breath from here with those rotting teeth from jail. But I'll tell you that she thinks that so again, back to context. Now you're in jail for what happened to your children, even though it's not your fault. How could you function that way? How could you function if that were the case? You wouldn't feel the way that she feels. Anybody, any normal person, any person I think at all would be screaming at the rooftop that it wasn't their fault. Tessmax says, let the curse words flow. They're coming because I'm getting pissed off. Anytime I have to deal with this, it's ridiculous. Why would you use that at the next trial anyway? That doesn't make any logical sense either.
I want to ask you a little bit about the testimony. Obviously, this was your first time. I mean, you're not an attorney. What was that like cross-examining people for you, getting up there and having to be able to put into words your questions properly? You got a lot of objections and kind of had to revamp there on the spot. What was that like for you?
it's harder than it looks.
Sure.
It's harder than it looks. It's stressful in a way. Like your brain has to be going 100 miles an hour. You know, I've been in jail for over 5 years, almost 6 years. So
What does that have to do with anything?
you don't really have to use your brain very much in jail. So it was like mathlete or something, you know, you're having to think all the time. So it was interesting. It was different than I thought it was going to be. It's difficult.
What was it like facing your brother for the first time in years?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, it all happened so fast. I'm still really kind of processing. I mean, yesterday was the first day I slept in like 3 weeks or so. So today I slept into a little bit. I knew you guys were coming. I was like, I better get up because, you know, I knew you guys were coming. But
Nothing to do with the question.
yeah, it was different than I thought.
Did you think that your interactions with Adam were positive between the two of you in the courtroom?
I didn't really think anything at the time. I was trying to be in just lawyer mode and kind of do my job at the time. You know, it's hard because you have, being your own attorney, right? You're obviously emotional, and women were obviously more emotional than the men who get up and do it. But I tried to mostly be in attorney mode and try to stick to that.
What is that even supposed to mean?
That kind of the personal part of this, I want to touch on a little bit more of that in the testimony. So it seemed from a totality standpoint that some of the testimony that bothered you the most was talking about Charles dating other women, specifically with Nancy Jo Hancock, but you also referenced it in your cross-examination of Detective Duncan. Why did that aspect bother you so much?
Oh, shout out to Deborah for either Swear Barrel or for Kelsey's birthday. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I don't think it bothered me that much. I think it surprised me because I wasn't aware of any of that until we got the discovery.
You did not know he was dating other women.
No.
But you were having the affair with Chad Daybell. So how does that...
Exactly. How do you even... Yeah.
You can say affair, but Chad was really just my best friend.
Yeah, best friend that you meet up with, talk about getting married, kill your spouses for, cheat on, just friends. That's what all friends do. All friends just talk about this nonsense and take out one of their whole entire families and spouses. That's exactly what friends would do.
The time.
Yes.
But then you got married a few months later.
Correct.
So you were just friends, according to you, with Chad before Charles' death.
Correct.
And then only romantic things started after Charles' death.
Correct.
Do you still to this day believe that Charles was a dark spirit, a possessed spirit named Ned?
Look at that.
That's a whole thing that has been way misconstrued.
Can you
it wasn't.
clear it up?
Probably not in the 5 minutes we have left.
Chase, what do you got?
I gotta move on.
She's sitting there calm again. This time we catch something a little different. There's some small cracks starting to show here. There's some moments where the reality that she has buried starts to leak through. And
is this on 1.5? Yeah. Oh, it's on 1.25. Okay. That's fine.
when this reporter, I don't remember her name, but she brings up Charles dating other women, Lori has this little tight lip compression, and that's a behavioral tell.
Well, no, that doesn't make any sense, because if Lori was surprised at Charles dating other women, then how in the hell could Charles have cheated on her for years and find that out, and that's the reason they broke up? 0 sense. That makes 0 sense.
And lip compression is something we do instinctively as a reaction to stress, and it's our body's way of holding back something like anger or guilt or sadness or even like an opinion. But it's the first sign that Lori's mask isn't airtight, which I think is a good sign here. And when the interviewer calls out Lori's relationship with Chad, I think is his name, and calls it what it was, she says it was an affair.
It was an affair, a hardcore affair.
What's her reaction? She closes her eyes long and hard, way longer than a normal, just a blink reflex. And this prolonged eye closure that you see here is probably an emotional overload. And I think it's the brain trying to block out some stimulus that it doesn't want to process.
Ooh, that's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, we all know now. And so this is the thing. I was ignorant to the fact that how much of an affair it really was until we found out that they were meeting up at hotels. Like I did not know the fullness of this affair. She was having a full-blown affair and projected that to Charles. And again, let's go back and just be adults and just say that if Charles was cheating and having sex with other women, you're literally cheating on him. And so you couldn't be mad at him even if that were the truth. So it's just ridiculous.
So it's involuntary, and you can't fake it very cleanly. And it shows part of Lori that's still I think it shows part of her that's still tethered to reality, even underneath all that delusion and all those layers. And notice the one thing here in my notes here is the sequence. First, the lip compress, then she's downright eye accessing, a known emotional eye movement for retrieving emotional stuff. But then she shuts her eyes for a few beats too long when that lie is called out.
Yeah.
Behaviorally, I think maybe that's the most we've seen so far. And it's more than we've seen when she talks about.
That's the thing. There has to be. So even if you're, I don't know. I don't have enough psychology into psychopaths, and I just don't have enough information. But I'm just assuming that if you're in that sociopath, psychopath, there's got to be something. There's something there that you feel or know, and like you're just conscious of these things. And so, yeah, she's definitely feels something and knows.
The murder, not when she talks about the trials, but when her personal narrative, the image of herself gets challenged. That's where we see the stress. She's
crafting her image because she hates herself. She hates her authentic and true self. And so she's crafted her image to look a certain way, and she gets called out on it and she gets mad. There's something on my hat. That's why she's so upset, because she just wants everyone to accept this reality that she's made up and just not ask her any questions.
Down and says we were just friends or best friends. But even now, with everything kind of burned to the ground, she can't break that fantasy. So I think the reporter asked her if she still believes Charles was possessed by a dark spirit or something like that.
Yeah.
Named Ned.
Ned.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
She dodges that. which would have been a great thing to hear, but she said it was all way misconstrued or something like that. But she doesn't explain because she can't untangle that without admitting she built the whole thing herself. So she's not immune to reality. So she's not so deluded.
That's what
that
I've been
she's
trying to say from the beginning. She's not. It's not void. She knows, she feels, she avoids it, and she pushes it out somehow.
immune, like Charles Manson level immune to reality.
Exactly.
She's kind of buried this stuff so deep that she feels it right when you hit a nerve, where maybe she can't script her way out of it. In my humble opinion, this is because she can't argue with the part of her brain that knows the truth. And that part's in there. And that's what we're seeing here. These little revelations.
Chase, I like Chase, bro. I like Chase is killing this. I'm not, no disrespect to anybody else on the panel, by the way. I just like Chase's point of view.
Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, I think if I was going to be talking about a dark, personality or demon or whatever, I'd give it a better name than Ned. Ned's a great name for a human.
Good name.
But I'd call him like T. Tequily or, start shopping with something.
You're also.
Yeah, but see, that's what makes it even better. Makes it even scarier when you say it when it's dark, It's T. Tequily. He's come for me.
Well, that's the whole point, is that's one of the reasons, that's the justification for the murder. Again, Chad must have known when Lori's calling and saying, what's the deal here? What's going on with these spiritual things? He knows he has to make something up, because at the end of the day, he knew who he wanted gone, but so did she. This was not involuntary on her part. So naming something, so what I think they're doing, in my opinion, they're naming, what's the word? They're disassociating the human side, and I think giving someone a new name, it's almost like disassociating anything to do with the former to convince yourself that it's no longer the same thing. That's what that is to me. And I'm just thinking that as we're saying it, it makes so much more sense that if you assign this fake name to someone and you assign these things, it dehumanizes the person. And so therefore it just gets a little bit easier for the person who knows what they're going to do. That's how I would view this.
Anyway, so that's me. You can tell how bored I was. All right, let's talk about that lip compression that Chase was talking about, because that's exactly where I went to. I went through this thing frame by frame. I kept looking for anger. I wanted it to be anger so bad in there. I wanted to even see a little bit of lip pursing in there, but it wasn't. It was just that lip compression in there. And I think what I did see, in my opinion, was, you guys will have to frame by frame it yourself, I'm going to call a little bit of sadness in there. I saw, because I think what this did was it hit her ego, because she didn't expect anybody to be cheating on her. She's like, it's me. I'm all awesome. No. So I think that's what happened. I think it's probably a little bit of sadness with that as well. And you're right, Chase. She's holding stuff back because I'm sure she has a lot to say about that. But I think it was a blow to her ego, and that's what happened. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is somebody who is successfully hidden for a long time.
I think he's right. I think that she does feel sad very deep down. And again, that's what I tried to explain to others. There's people who do think that Lori has lost her mind and that she's just no longer the same person, and that she is completely 180'd into this like unreachable human being. And that's just not the case. It's not the case. This is a choice of her to continually disassociate and create a new reality so she could do what she had wanted to do, her evil desires, with Chad. And that's just what you have to learn to accept. She's not mentally incapable of knowing. She does know. I've said this from the beginning. She knows in her heart of hearts.
Time in plain sight. And Chase, that thing where she closes her eyes, I agree with you. I think that is containment of maybe damn near rage. And it's white bread version of, oh, no, you didn't. It's close your eyes, like getting ready for something. It's isolation. It's get away from it long enough you don't respond. And probably what she's done in dealing with other people, because she's probably harsh to deal with when you cross a certain line with her. And whatever that line is, you may or may not know, because it's designed somewhere in her sight.
Her line doesn't exist. It's just anything you do makes her explode. But she's reserved. She's playing her character for the TV.
I think what we're seeing here is a person who's hidden inside those church organizations, where there's, whatever female, or I think it's called Relief Society within the LDS Church. She's been a mover and shaker maybe in her own church. To your point, Scott, of making her world bigger. And I think what she did here was she asked a stupid question. I love watching her on this, when she went and actually started saying, did you date my husband? Yes. Did you know did he say I was getting divorced? Yes. I didn't know I was getting divorced. Well, he told me. So there's a whole lot of her getting butthurt, getting her feelings hurt. To all you guys' point, her ego gets fractured a little bit there. And I love that. Lip compression is very clear.
Maybe that's right. Maybe she's so maybe she's so narcissistic that she's mad that Charles would even go and date someone else or be with someone else. But you can't say he was cheating on you the whole time for years and then be surprised that he was dating. That just doesn't make any sense. So stupid.
It's when she says other woman. And then she narrows her eyes at her mentioning cross-examining
that would make sense, actually, because if she knew she was lying about Charles cheating and he never cheated on her, but then after they're in that process of going through a divorce and he wants to divorce her and he actually starts dating, that's when he finds out. That's when she finds out he actually was going to start dating and it pissed her off. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
the detective. And even now, after all this, she's showing residual emotion. What's interesting is we all would expect your children are dead, your ex-husband's dead, your husband's ex-wife is dead. You might have some emotion associated with that. There's no emotion associated with I'm in prison. There's no emotion associated with he's dead. There's no emotion associated with the children are dead. But there's damn sure emotion associated with he cheated on her, even though she was doing the same thing to him, apparently. And when she's called out for it, man, that you're right, Mark. There are, I think it was Scott said that. When she's called out for cheating, she really then does that best friend thing really quickly, snaps out best friend. Chase, you break into it better than I can. But that
how many people marry their best friend, only a friend? When you see someone as only a friend, and then you marry them immediately, it's pretty fast.
Friend then suddenly became her husband. Not long after this murder. That's kind of convenient.
Yeah.
And I want to know more about Detective Leah and why you're dressed the way you are, Scott. Did you come here to deliver a message?
Detective Lee is a scary, dark personality. I don't know. Yeah, I do Merritt Street for this.
Here's the reality. All the best names of demons have been taken these days. You don't have a lot left. You can only go for a Ned or a Colin, Terry. You know, there's no good. All the Azraels and the Belials and the, you know, they've all been taken.
C.S. Lewis had some good ones like Screw Tape and Wormwood.
Absolutely. Yeah, though Wormwood had already been, you know, that was already taken. You know, he was plagiarizing a little bit on the Wormwood. Yeah, no, you're only left with your Kevins and your Terrys and your Collins these days. Look, here's what's interesting for me about this one is it's a great moment. Whitney here, the interviewer, she hasn't got a lot of time to do this interview.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what that time constraint was, but every time you sit down with her, everybody wasted a lot of time, including myself. I allowed her to tangent off, and we didn't have a set time limit because I wasn't there in person. But yeah, when you let her talk, she just does that. She just starts talking about anything.
And so she's really kind of ramped up, and you see she's got her notes there, and she's got a lot of places she could go. And we're 3 videos in, and she absolutely manages to hit the hot spot on this subject and turn this interview and in a way that reveals to us, just as you said, Chase, just as everybody said, like this is the
when Kelsey and I were dating, she told me that she saw C.S. Lewis at church, and he came and spoke, and I said, honey, that would be really, really, really interesting if you saw C.S. Lewis. I'd actually would love to investigate more on that.
Spot for this. This is where this person still has some feelings, which is she got cheated on. Her ego got taken down. Her status got depleted on this one. We see that because she reframes. I wouldn't say bothered. I'm more surprised. So she has to reframe it. And she hasn't done that before. The interviewer, Whitney, shows contempt again. Side of the mouth goes up for dark spirit named Ned. So clearly the interviewer displays to Vallow, I am not buying any of what you're selling on this dark spirit stuff. And I think that's, partly why as well.
Let's ask a question though. Why walk it back if it was worth taking lives over? If it was that important, and this is why you're here, and you're here to kill zombies, and you're here on this planet to do that. Yeah.
And doesn't go down that route, because there's no point. If she's seen clearly this interviewer is not going to buy any element of this story, there's no point in going down that route. Now, if she sensed that person is going to bite on it somewhat, she'd start reeling it in. But the interviewer's giving her, right or wrong, strong signals of, I'm not buying any of that stuff, which is maybe a good piece, because it means in this interview, Vallow isn't going to be able to.
C.S. Lewis was a Christian writer who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia and other media, and he passed away in 1963, and Kelsey is turning 28 tomorrow. So the times do not match up is what the joke is.
To string the usual stories that she might string that have most likely worked a great deal for a lot of her life. Great video, that one. Great interviewer. Let's see another.
Chase, you wanted so bad to have a British accent on that when last time you said, let's see another. I saw you fight that, dude.
I was definitely fighting it.
Yeah.
Every time he talks, I'm almost talking in a British accent.
Personal part of this, I want to touch on a little bit more of that in the testimony. So it seemed from a totality standpoint that some of the testimony that bothered you the most was talking about Charles dating other women, specifically with Nancy Jo Hancock, but you also referenced it in your cross-examination of Detective Duncan.
Look at her studying what she's saying.
Why did that aspect bother you so much?
I don't think it bothered me that much. I think it surprised me because I wasn't aware of any of that until we got the discovery.
That doesn't make any sense if you didn't because of the cheating.
You did not know he was dating other women?
No.
But you were having the affair with Chad Daybell, so how does that
You can say affair, but Chad was really just my best friend.
at the time?
Yes.
But then you got married a few months later.
Correct.
So you were just friends, according to you, with Chad before Charles' death.
You gotta be careful with those friends. He's just my best friend. She's such a damn lie. She knows that. She's seen movies.
Correct.
And then only romantic things started after Charles' death.
Correct.
Do you still to this day believe that Charles was a dark spirit, a possessed spirit named Ned?
That's a whole thing that has been way misconstrued.
Can you clear it up?
Such a damn lie.
Probably not in the 5 minutes we have left.
Obviously, I have to ask, right?
I'm
Because
leaving.
so much centered around the religion part of this, including these Nephi texts. The Nephi texts, I think, became possibly the crux of this trial.
Yes, the Nephi texts were also the first time I heard that. I remember, where were we? But I was on my way back to the airport when I heard about the Nephi text. And I knew immediately, because I grew up LDS, I remembered what the Nephi storyline was. And the Nephi storyline is what sunk into my heart. Now, just context for everybody, I'm sure you all know this, but this is for anybody who doesn't know this. Nephi is a prophet in the LDS religion in the Book of Mormon. It's the first book you read, and Nephi was told by God to go and they had the plates, which I think are the scriptures. The Book of Mormon were on these gold plates, and their king stole the plates from the family. And so Nephi was told to go get them, and the king kept running him and his family out of there. He's like, go, I'm not giving it back to you, whatever. And then one night, Nephi is out and about. And again, the whole context of Nephi, he's like a big dude, an imposing, bigger guy, whatever. And he sees the king laying down dead or drunk, and an angel appears to him, which by the religious texts that we have from Chad and Lori and them, they told Alex he was the angel that appeared in the Book of Mormon. And what happened was Nephi cut Laban's head off and then went in and put on his clothes and got dressed up as the king and went in and got the plates and then took off. So that's just the very early part of that story. There's a lot more to it, obviously, in context. But that, I knew exactly what they were talking about when they referred to themselves being like Nephi in that context. And those were some of the most, I remember that day. I remember hearing them using that, and that was crazy.
And it also was what affected the jurors most. They felt that some of those text messages between you and Alex were some of the most damning evidence in this.
Is that what they're saying now?
That's what they're saying now. So how do you describe the Nephi texts?
So, yeah, they've been totally and completely misconstrued. So I explained that somewhat in my closing. That's their job. So the prosecution...
That's their job. Go back. No. I would, if I ever were in the room to speak with her again, I would destroy her. I'd be like, stop, shut up, go back.
The state, they're not there, right? They receive all this information and then they make up a story that goes along with whatever information that they have, right? They make it up. It's a made up story.
You just said they go along with the information that they have. They have your texts, you dumbass, you frizzy frick. You incriminated yourself in a lot of this.
They weren't there. They didn't experience it. So they have no idea. They have to make up a story and then they have to stick to it. And then they put that out to the media and then they put their narrative out and then they stick to their narrative. So you've heard this for 5 years, but it's very misconstrued.
So what is it?
So when you're speaking spiritually to someone else who understands spiritual things. So
exactly. Fucking stupid. This is so stupid for you to try to tell people that you understand that she always makes it above your head. It's always above your head. You don't understand. You don't know. She told me the same thing in the phone call. You don't understand. You wouldn't get it, this and that. It's all to avoid explanation.
See Chad, for instance, right? Chad had a near-death experience. He's had 3, actually. I had a near-death experience.
Yeah, he should have gone. Saved a lot of problems. Both of you should have not had a near-death. You both should have fucking kicked the bucket.
We both went to heaven. We both had that experience. So what bonded us is it's a very lonely place to have that kind of knowledge and have no one to talk to about it in your life that understands that.
So 2 nut jobs get together so they can be double nut job and talk about nonsense.
And so when someone else understands that and you're speaking spiritually, we weren't speaking of anything on earth. We weren't speaking of anything that was happening here. We're speaking of things that are happening in this.
Then why did you use Nephi? Nephi was on earth. That whole story is on earth. Did it take on freaking planet Naboo? Did you see Darth Maul, you son of a bitch? I'm getting pissed off, as you can tell. When I start getting angry, then I start cussing. That's what it is.
World. So anybody that's going to read any text of yours, it's going to be way over their head in the sense that they hadn't had those experiences. So they have nowhere to put them.
So what does be like Nephi mean?
Be courageous, be brave, have perseverance.
And why did you have to be brave in that situation?
Yeah.
What were you referencing then to be brave about?
So Adam and Charles and Brandon were plotting against me. My sister was worried about it. My mom was telling me about it. I didn't really realize it. I was in the middle of taking care of kids with special needs, a daughter with chronic illness.
Oh gosh, shut the fuck up about the chronic illness. Tylee was not having such, okay, and I'm never going to speak out against Tylee in any demeaning way, but she's using that as if Tylee could not function ever, and that's just simply not true. This is crutching, once again, making herself look better, building herself up, trying to make herself seem as she's better than she is, that she had so much going on. That's not the case. I promise you that. Yes, Tylee had her flare up and her issues, but nothing to the point of where she had to say, I had a special needs. How about all the nannies that you hired? How about all the people that you had watching JG 24/7 while you fucked around and went to the temple and lied and made a bunch of religious lore? I'll never understand how you can just sit here and even say this stupid shit. That's the reason why she's saying it to her, is because Brianna can't say anything back to her because she doesn't know all that other stuff. Nothing against Brianna, I'm just saying.
With special needs. So if you know anything about kids with autism, it's 24 hours a day. And
yeah, with a fucking babysitter. Yep, it is. That's why you hired help all the time, right? Everywhere we went, right? And pawned him off to a babysitter so you could do nothing.
I was busy mom. I wasn't, they were like, oh, this is weird. Adam came into town and he's with Charles and you haven't talked to him and we need to let you know there's something going on. Maybe you could come stay at my house. You know, my sister had that whole thing of things, come stay at my house. I can't pick up JJ and go stay at someone else's house. It ruins his routine.
So you were referring to
yeah, you really cared about his routine. That's what you cared about. Okay.
What they call an intervention. Now I don't believe that's what it was at all.
What did you believe?
I think they have other plans completely.
What were they going to do? What were they planning on doing? Please enlighten me on Brandon, Adam, and Charles's master plot against you. Let's just go with her. Let's go with her wild thought and say that Charles and Brandon and Adam decided they wanted to kill her. How long could they get away with that? If they wanted to kill her, how could they have got away with that? With all of those family members knowing. You see what I'm saying?
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Okay. So actually, Whitney does it. By the way, I'm reading this off. I wrote this on the plane last night, and I normally write notes that look like this here, which is unreadable for me, but it reminds me of the feeling and intention that I had in my notes. When I read text, I can't remember what I was saying here. But anyway, Whitney lures her down this path of high status spiritual conversationalist. Mm-hmm. When you're talking spiritually to someone who understands spiritual stuff. Mm-hmm. So
she's taking it above your head every time. That's all she's going to do every time, because she can't explain it. And so therefore it's easier to just make it sound like it's for higher knowledge. It's for higher beings. It's for the elite. It's whatever she makes it out to be.
Is saying, look, you know, when I'm talking spiritually to somebody who understands the spiritual stuff, again, she's demoting the interviewer here, saying you couldn't possibly understand the stuff.
She does it to everybody, though. It's not new. That's what she did to me in the first phone call. She does it to every single person. She makes herself, she believes she's this special being that has been here a million times.
That's a bit general, isn't it? That's a bit general. So
I heard the Pope say stuff once.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So clearly, even Valo, I would say, has not really worked out this universe that she's talking about.
No.
It's still full of stuff rather than definite areas.
She's still writing the script. Exactly. It's a scripted, made up as you go. The problem is when you go down this route and you make up your religion and you make it all up, you have to have your writer. And Chad is no longer accessible. So her whole world has been rocked because he was making it up as he goes. And he was saying, oh, well, no, you got the demon out. Now there's new, like he was making it up as he goes. And that's something, I don't know if that was Gibb or Zulema that mentioned that it sounded like he was doing it as he goes. But I believe that because, you know, of all the other texts and stuff like that, all the changing of the rules.
Which have nomenclature, you know, they're definitely have been codified.
Well, she could explain it, Mark. You wouldn't understand.
No, exactly. I would never understand the stuff that she's talking about. Yeah. And then she plays the trump card, which is Chad, because he's had 3 near-death experiences. So by association, she now ramps herself up, you know, times 3 of having more spiritual.
Man, are you that bad at life? 3 near deaths, and you don't even do anything. It's not like you're doing ATVing out in the desert or have some kind of scary job where you're put in the line of fire all the time. Like, what the fuck are you doing over there, bro? How do you even get the credential of saying that? And people are like, oh wow, amazing. You fell into the water and had a near death and you were sitting on the couch and floated above and everybody touched you and you came back.
Experience than anybody else. She says they both went to heaven. So they're both ascendants who came back down again. So I start thinking of instantly when I get ascendants who come back down, I start thinking fallen angels. And into my mind came Milton's Paradise Lost, which is about the loneliness of Satan cast down. And just what a lonely world it is. If you've been an angel, if you've gone to heaven and then you're cast down to earth, like nobody can understand. Nobody can understand the loneliness of that. And there's some beautiful illustrations that you can see of that loneliness of this poor Satan, just really flipping dejected. Like it's tough being Satan. And essentially,
it's the best comment. Couldn't even Buffalo Bills babe says Chad couldn't even get death right. Homie can't even die right. It's not hard. You can't tell me you had 3 near deaths and you absolutely do not have a profession or any reason to be almost dying 3 times.
She then starts talking about the loneliness of it. She's absolutely playing out this idea of, look how lonely it is for the person who has been to heaven and seen that and come back down again.
They're trying to elevate themselves into a category. That's what it sounds like to me. Elevate themselves into a way of, it sounds like she wanted somebody to be spiritual with her, and Charles just wasn't doing that in the way that she wanted to.
Cannot possibly imagine that I cannot relate to anybody else in the world anymore. And then from this Milton Paradise Lost idea, it then just descends into domesticity of a busy mother. So, I mean, it's just a beautiful narrative of I've been to heaven, I've been cast down, it's super lonely. And, you know, I'm running the house as well at the same time. It goes epic to kind of just domestic soap opera of running kids. Just beautiful.
No, and blaming the kids for being a lot. It's all inner. I went to heaven. I had special experiences. I'm so special. I'm this, I'm that. And my kids are very difficult and all the health issues and this. Everything revolves around her being the victim. It's essential thesis of this entire thing.
Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, we usually say you can't read minds with body language, but you get pretty close on this one. This is a pretty powerful series of body language things. Number one, yes, she uses stuff. I've never heard a prophet use the word stuff. They usually have really dense language around what they know about something else, not stuff. You get a lot of confidence in that person. They never say, I've been to heaven and stuff. There's, you know, when you go to heaven, there's like God and stuff. Nobody's going to
God,
listen
it's
to that.
tough.
Nobody's going to listen to it. She was part of this really cliquish thing with this guy. Now, I will say this. Don't think we're attacking church or any of that, whatever you believe. I will say, like LDS, those guys have a very well-developed religion, lots of understanding, and she should know that. She grew up in it. You'd think she'd use words from that.
Exactly.
Assuming that she absorbed any of it and didn't just turn it into her own little gig.
It's exactly, okay, so I hate to be the biggest nerd on the planet Earth, but when you use Star Wars as a reference, the whole luring in of Anakin is that Palpatine explains what Anakin knows, which is the Force, but this other side that's unexplored. It's this power, it's this attraction to this idea that you don't know everything, and there's so many other things that you're being held back on, and there's all this other stuff out there. It's the grass is greener over here. That's exactly what this reminds me of. And when you really watch episode 3, again, nerdy, but it's a perfect example of being lured in by your desires. Lori had her core hurt and desires and her broken self. Chad saw that and used the opportunity to bring her in as deep as he could, and then she just joined all the way in because she was already in. And so it's a luring of, this is better. I have more. There's more information. And so they both have separated themselves from being anything mainstream and putting themselves on a position of highest beings, most special, most powerful, most amazing, greatest things ever, because they're fragile, egoed people who have no identity, hate their lives, and because of themselves, they hate themselves. And so therefore they have to come up with this lore. And that's how you see every person in that group. Every person like Zulema, all these people, they needed to feel special, and they needed somebody to tell them all these fantasy things about themselves. And so that's where it all comes to. That's where all of this is really just at that core. But the religious side makes you feel special on top of all the other stuff.
I love, Mark, you talk about her excusing the interviewer. Beautiful body language of excusing the interviewer. Closed eyes, chin boss engaged, and face away. That's excusing you for your ignorance and moving on past it. I love it. It's beautiful. That's why I say you can almost read her language. I mean, her body language and read her mind. She isn't wrong about prosecution making up a story. That's the nature of what they have to do. That's what their theory is, because they don't have all the facts. But they use forensics to build a picture.
Exactly.
Then she does that whole thing, just saying, nobody knows but me. Of course they don't know, because they were not there when you killed or caused somebody to be killed. At this point, you start to question credibility and likability of any person who has 4 people in their orbit dead, or 2 dependent children, and they're not showing any emotion. Back to Chase, this is one of the creepiest ones we've seen, because she's casually talking about things that we typically don't see people casually talk about. They at least try to find some pity in us for the fact they lost these people. She's down her nose. Here's the second piece of body language.
And that's the best part. The best part about her not being able to do everything at once because she's fabricating is that she can't hide it all. So she's doing what she can to hide what she can, but you can tell she doesn't have any empathy or sympathy or care about what happened.
Absolutely down her nose when she's talking to you about in the Navy, back to Prince Andrew's thing. Because if you think about what down your nose means, chin is thrust forward, lower teeth exposed, her head's back. She's literally looking down her nose. What else does it take? Now we're back to 3 near-death experiences. Chase, if you get 3 near-death experiences, I'm not coming in and hanging out with you, because that's a bad indicator that something's not going well. And there's nothing quite as endearing as a mother who describes her children in terms of the complexity and the obligation. Nothing. She doesn't say my children. She says taking care of special needs, kids, and complexity. That's not how you, especially a child you've lost, It's damn obvious that she is just, all she's doing is chaffing away from what she doesn't want to talk about and using that as a lever. Nothing like that. Love people who use their child as a lever. Chase, what you got?
Yeah, absolutely agree. But right out of the gate here, the reporter brings up the Nephi text, and this is what, as I understand it, just blew Lori's case wide open.
It did.
And
you have to know the context, or else it's a big deal because it's so specific. And it's like what Lori said to me, and I'll get to that one second. True Color says, birthday love for Kelsey. From one mom to another, we think of you and your family tomorrow. Thank you so much, True Color. That was so sweet of you. She used Abraham and Isaac to me, and the last time I spoke to her, I did not call her. This was probably 5, anywhere between like a week, 5 to 3 days, something of that nature, before they found Tylee and JJ. And what happened was we were talking, and she mentioned Abraham and Isaac. And I just remember thinking, like, why? I remember getting off the phone with her, and I told Kelsey, and I was like, why would you ever even say that? Why would you even mention that story? Because we all know Abraham and Isaac is the story about sacrifice and how God was asking Abraham to sacrifice his son, even though God was never going to have him go through with it. But for her to say that in the scenario where the kids are missing, it's the most unbelievably inappropriate thing she could have possibly said. So I did not call her back because I was so upset with the comment. And then it was very, very short amount of time that she came in and they found Tylee and JJ. So it just proved everything. But that was the last thing she had said to me before I found out. I kid you not.
How does she react? There's prolonged eye closure. There's the shoulder shrugs, the chins raised with every line of defense. And when it comes to the behavior here, this is a subject that she knows is radioactive. So this prolonged eye closure as the stress is starting to leak out, you can see it when this clip comes back on. And the shrugs are kind of disowning. She's literally shrugging off this accusation. That's literal. And these chin lifts, like Greg, you were talking about, I think this is probably defensive arrogance, like talking down your nose, just acting like she's above needing to explain herself here.
But that's the exact opposite of how she truly is. She's a fragile, egoed person. She doesn't like herself. So this whole villain that she's embraced is an act.
He calls the prosecution's case a made-up story. Like they weren't there, they don't understand. Not once does she engage the evidence. She doesn't explain in simple terms what the text actually meant. Just tell us, if there was a secret meaning, go ahead, tell us. An innocent person, I would assume, would do that. But she doesn't defend herself. She's discrediting everyone else. That is a huge red flag that you need to look for in your everyday life. If you're ever talking to anybody about anything, then watch how she does a reframing job. I don't know if y'all can see that fly buzzing right by my face. But
Kevin, it's Kevin.
Waiting for him to go.
Mark summoned him using his name.
I summoned Kevin.
That might be Titiquila.
Could be.
Don't say it again.
But she and Chad weren't like plotting murder.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to hear everybody's perspective on this. I don't know. I just think that you have to see her for who she is, and who she is a version of this is her, like the evil side, all that stuff is real, but it's not. She's still playing a character, so it's hard to explain in context what I wish I could explain what I mean better, but I just truly am trying to give you guys the perspective.
Because they were spiritually bonded, and he's a 3rd-degree death belt, which means he's outranking her a lot.
Yeah.
And their conversations were like above the heads of normal people, and that's grandiosity wearing the costume of spirituality.
Yep.
That's exactly what that is. It's not an argument. It's a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
You can't understand because you're not enlightened like I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you, when this clip comes back on, I want you to listen really close. When she talks about being brave, it's not to protect her children or to save her family. It's to survive what she paints as this plot against her.
Exactly.
It's
about her. It's not even about the kids. It's not about anybody else. It's about Lori.
References her kids only as obstacles. That's how she describes her children, how tough it is. Her daughter's illness, her son's autism. These are logistical problems, not people. Not once do you hear her say Tylee or JJ. These are the names of those kids. That's psychological distancing. In real grief, you humanize, you name, and you remember. Like, wow. Greg, you were just talking about that. You don't refer to your kids like items on a grocery list.
There you go.
So her body's leaking the stress, but her mouth keeps spinning that same fantasy. She wasn't a criminal. She was just a misunderstood prophet. And maybe that's a great episode title if they ever do a show about her. The Misunderstood Prophet. When somebody talks more about their enemies than their victims, you're not hearing innocence, you're hearing justification.
Exactly.
Listen to
that's all she's trying to do. She wants everybody to totally believe her and then see her as the true victim in the entire scenario.
Where the attention is. That's all I got. Scott, what do you got?
Well, who's had a near-death experience here? Let's hear one of those. Who's had one in here? Okay, Mark, what do you got?
Does DMT count?
My first marriage.
What do you got, Mark?
Oh yeah, little kid, and I was in an oxygen tent, and I died in the oxygen tent.
What are you talking about? Why haven't we heard this before?
Well, I mean, it's a long time ago. I mean,
Well, I know that.
That was a
Well,
long time ago. That's a real reason right there.
that's when you tell we're hanging out. Let's have it.
It's about the stuff. Yeah, yeah. But I'm here now.
Well, tell us what happened.
You know, the main thing I remember is coming round with a priest over the top of me, the full dog collar, the dog collar, and it was great because I was given, there was a toy at the time called Fuzzy Felt. Anybody in the UK will probably remember Fuzzy Felt. Maybe you had it in the US, but you could stick these felt shapes onto a black background and you could make patterns and pictures and stuff. And I got given in hospital some Fuzzy Felt, and I was like, this is brilliant. This is like fantastic. I got a gift. I got a toy. So I was like, yeah, being really ill and dying, like that's a top banana.
You had to die to get a Fuzzy Felt?
That's top banana.
That's crazy.
But nothing spiritual happened.
No, I had all the tunnel of light stuff.
Oh wow.
But then there was a big fan down the bottom of this tent that turned into the light. So my appreciation of it is that, that's just the brain making sense of the environment that I was already in.
Interesting. Colby, you got to do a deep dive on the murder of baby Ruby Murray. The parents killed her and they are related to Chad. I did hear about that. And my biggest thing is to show, a lot of respect. I like to give a little bit of time to these circumstances, number one. And number two, I need more context and to research it deeply just to make sure that I understand what's going on. I don't want to spread any misinformation, and I don't want to ever sensationalize any of this. This is all real life. And yeah, but I do appreciate that. I think we'll definitely be looking into that. And as you guys know, this is not something we're going to be doing for, that much longer. Like I have a lot of other cases that I want us to discuss. And I think I personally, hopefully you guys are too, learning a lot from how people function and what to look for. And I don't know, it's really created a lot of perspective for me on people's mindsets, because I think that's what's creating criminals now, is people's mental health. That's what's creating all of these things. Of course, circumstances as well, but a lot of times the mental health side and what they're getting or not getting in their life is creating more and more people who are doing things like this.
You probably thought that too back then, knowing you. You probably said that.
Yeah. I was rationalizing it during all of that. Okay. Yeah. The best thing for me coming back to life, being Lazarus. The best thing for Lazarus is the gifts that you get given afterwards when you come back from the dead. That's top.
Love it. Chase, what about yours?
I just, mine was DMT. It wasn't a near-death experience.
Let's hear it.
It's like every other DMT story.
Oh.
What's
Okay.
DMT?
It's insane.
What about you, Greg?
No, nothing.
You got nothing?
No.
The closest thing I got was the time I told my parents they couldn't tell me what to do. It was 8.
Obviously, I have.
I don't know if I please take this with what I'm saying, as I wrote about this in the book. So anybody's read my book knows I wrote about this. And the only thing I will ever even consider, and I don't even consider it near death. I think it's just my brain making sense of things. I don't know exactly what it was. I've never been able to understand. But when I got hit by the car at 8 years old, I have a vivid memory of being above my body, just for that. Like, I don't know if that's my brain, rationalizing or disassociating, but I can see my body going over the car and landing on the other side. And then I remember I supposedly was running around, and all I remember is this guy laying me down. And I didn't remember running around. They told me that I almost got up and freaked out and ran. I remember being laid down and being told to calm down. That is the closest and only thing that I've ever experienced of anything like that. And I would not even consider that a near-death experience. So
to ask, right? Because so much centered around the religion part of this, including these Nephi texts. The Nephi texts, I think, became possibly the crux of this trial. And it also was what affected the jurors most. They felt that some of those text messages between you and Alex were some of the most damning evidence in this.
Is that what they're saying now?
That's what they're saying now. So how do you describe the Nephi texts?
there you go.
So, yeah, they've been totally and completely misconstrued. So I explained that somewhat in my closing.
Somewhat.
That's their job. So the prosecution, the state, they're not there, right? They receive all this information and then they make up a story in your life that understands that. And so
We
when
already watched this part, so I just don't need to rehear
someone else
everything.
understands that, and you're speaking spiritually, we weren't speaking of anything on earth. We weren't speaking of anything that was happening here. We're speaking of things that are happening in the spirit world. So anybody that's going to read any text of yours, it's going to be way over their head in the sense that they hadn't had those experiences. So
No, none of what you ever said was over their head. The only thing I can think of here, and I don't know why this comes to mind, this is in the scriptures, but it's also in the Chosen, and Lori loves the Chosen, and so I'm connecting all of this right now. But there is a moment in the Chosen where Jesus sits down with Nicodemus and explains to him about being reborn or born again. Let's keep it to simple, that Jesus explains being born again, not of the flesh, but of the spirit, right? And when Jesus brings that up, he talks about, how could I explain this to you if you wouldn't understand? If you can't understand this, you're not going to understand heavenly things. That is the only thing that comes to my mind with how she's speaking right now, is taking inspiration from Jesus or this show specifically, and trying to make it seem as if you wouldn't understand these heavenly things. But I can honestly attest, I do not believe Lori has had these experiences. And you don't see Jesus and then do the exact opposite of him, right? You don't have these spiritual experiences and then become the murderer, an adulteress, the liar, the stealer, the everything, and do that. It just doesn't make any logical sense. So I don't know if she sees demons. I have dreamed that she is possessed by demons, but I know dreams are subjective to kind of your conscious or like what you believe. In every one of my dreams, and I kid you not, every single one of my dreams, Lori is evil, and I mean evil, laughing, mocking, and that's why whoever said something about it. Why am I drawing a blank on who said that? The evil version of her laughing, mocking, telling you exactly what she's going to do rang really true, because I dream her that way. Anytime she's come in my dreams and she's evil. And most of my dreams, I'm screaming at her, I'm cussing her out, stuff like that. But I think that all of this is just a big, I don't know what this is, but I think that she truly, truly is deeply disturbed, and I think that she might be seeing demons. I personally believe she's possessed. So that's every one of my dreams. She's definitely possessed.
they have nowhere to put them.
So what does be like Nephi mean?
Be courageous, be brave, have perseverance.
And why did you have to be brave in that situation? What were you referencing then to be brave about?
So Adam and Charles and Brandon were plotting against me. My sister was worried about it. My mom was telling me about it. I didn't really realize it. I was in the middle of taking care of kids with special needs, a daughter with chronic illness and a son with special needs. So if you
Such a lie.
You know anything about kids with autism, it's 24 hours a day. And I was busy mom. They were like, oh, this is weird. Adam came into town and he's with Charles and you haven't talked to him and we need to let you know there's something going on. Maybe you could come stay at my house. You know, my sister had that whole thing of things, come stay at my house. I can't pick up JJ and go stay at someone else's house. It ruins his routine.
Even if it were life-threatening, you wouldn't go stay because it ruined his routine. If it were a life-threatening situation, which is what you make it seem like they were going to do something, cause you harm.
You're referring to the intervention.
What they call an intervention. Now I don't believe that's what it was at all.
What did you believe
I think they have other plans completely.
What were they going to do?
So you were referring to the intervention.
What they call an intervention. Now I don't believe that's what it was at all.
What did you believe
I
it
think
was?
they have other plans completely.
So when Charles died...
I wish that would have been followed up on. Just explain what you thought was going to happen.
Why did you guys wait 47 minutes to call 911? That became a huge part
I didn't wait any time. I didn't wait any time.
Well, I guess you didn't call at all.
Because
Alex called.
That's right. It was his responsibility in my mind that he was...
In my mind. Pull that phrase back to every time Lori makes something up. She says in my mind. And remember, when I interviewed her, she said it multiple times. And the more that she says it, she said, in my mind, yes, in my mind, this, that she just did it again. So she's kind of like low-key telling you, projecting that it's in her mind.
He took over and was handling that situation. I was getting the kids out of those.
That's exactly what fucking happened. That's exactly to the T what happened. He took over the situation, just like he did with Tylee and JJ. He took over, did all this stuff. It shows you everything that she did. She relied on Alex to do her dirty work. And she's telling you.
Out of danger.
Do you think he should have called sooner?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah.
Look at the shoulders too. Watch these shoulders.
What did you believe?
I
it
think they
was?
have other plans
Sorry, I went
completely.
back really far.
So when Charles died, why did
didn't
you guys
die.
wait 47 minutes to call 911? That became a huge part
I
of
didn't
this
wait
trial.
any time. I didn't wait any time.
Well, I guess you didn't call at all.
Because
Alex called.
that's right. It was his responsibility in my mind that
In my mind.
he took over and was handling that situation. I was getting the kids out of danger.
Do you think you
It
should have
wasn't danger. What danger was there? There wasn't danger.
called sooner?
Absolutely.
Shoulders tight, everything.
You do.
Yeah. I think he probably freaked out. You know, Charles and Alex were friends for years.
Exactly. That's why it's so fucked up. That's my point. They're not just friends, they're brother-in-laws. They've known each other for a long time. And yeah, they were, I would not call them close, but closer. He was talking to him all the time. That's insane.
Alex lived with us for like 6 months in 2018. And he and Charles would hang out all weekend and they go do stuff together. And Charles loved Alex and Alex loved Charles. Like, this just happened this day the way that it happened. And it was a tragedy. You know, Alex was probably freaked out.
Yeah, the rapid. Listen to the speed of what she says. Colby, you are one of the good ones. Such an inspiration to many. Thank you so much, Mary. Listen to the. We need to just go back just a tad and listen to the speed.
This just happened this day the way that it happened, and it was a tragedy. You know, Alex was probably freaked out, as freaked out as I was of the whole situation. So I don't know why he did what he did, and you know, he's not here for me to ask him anymore.
And then she gets sad about Alex. Doesn't give a shit about. Doesn't give a shit about the kids, but Alex isn't here anymore.
Do you regret representing yourself in this trial?
No.
Why?
It's for the same reasons I told you before about getting a speedy trial.
Kelsey's made a good point. She said, when did Alex live with them in 2018? I don't know. We got married in January and left when we got back from our honeymoon. I have no idea. I have no idea when he lived there.
That for all the women in here that have been sitting here for
Oh, you know what? I have a vague memory of that, though. I think he did stay there for a little bit while he was getting his house, I want to say. So that might be accurate. I don't know how long though. I do remember that.
Many years, you know, and I told you, like, I wouldn't expect attorneys to be able to do that. They want more time, you know. So, you know, I'll continue to go through the motions, and you know, we have another trial coming up in a couple of weeks. We have lots to do for that trial and preparing and getting ready, and maybe some of those things will be cleared up in this trial. You know, they filed a motion that they're going to bring in everything now.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so, if the judge allows that, which
who knows?
What do you think he's going to do?
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah, no, Boreski just hates you. It's all his fault.
Yeah, we don't know.
You tell me what you think he's going to do, Brianna.
Well,
you think he's going to say, nope, no 404B, we're not going to let any of that stuff in? I mean,
the judge was relatively patient with you, I thought, throughout the trial.
Did you
feel
feel
that?
that?
Well,
No,
I
did
think he
not
was
feel like
helping you.
that.
One more. Given that you were just found guilty, and I know you don't like the jail conditions, would you change your plea in Brandon's trial?
No.
Why?
Will I change it? No.
Change
Because
your plea from not guilty to guilty?
I didn't do anything. So, no, you have to, there comes a point when you just have to stand up, regardless of what they do to you, right? Like,
who are you standing up against? You have such a lawless spirit. You hate the law. You hate regulation. You hate rules. And you're making this is such a typical, like, this has nothing to do with you being a victim of anything. This is just hating that you got caught. That's all that is.
this will have zero effect on me in eternity. Zero.
And this is where I want to give anybody who has this feeling of feeling personally responsible for someone's salvation. I literally thought it was like my one of my jobs to try to get her to not go to hell, in a sense. Like, tell her, hey, you're gonna go to hell. This is where you're headed. You're not of your mind. You've blasphemed God. I told her that. She laughed in my face. You realize that this is her choice. She wants this. She thinks that there's going to be no consequence. She knows there is. So this whole confidence of zero eternal effect is such a lie. And I think she knows that. That's why it's such a confidence. Because what do you think is going to happen when you meet God and then you tell him what you did, or he knows what you did, and it's the exact opposite of him, and you used his name the whole time to do it, and you said Jesus the whole time, and you basically blame God for what happened and use his name the whole time. Thank you for your chat. Happy birthday to Kelsey. She's got her birthday coming up, guys.
Zero effect on me in eternity, and I already know that. So I'm here to help whatever women I can help, and here be courageous and stand up for themselves, because it's a system that bogs you down. These women are bogged down. They've been here for years. They've been treated horrible in this situation, and they've been treated horrible by their own attorneys. You know.
Yeah, that's why you're there. You're only there to save the women in there.
They've been treated like, okay, they've been here for 8, 9, 10 years waiting to go to trial, when the conditions at the prison, even if they got convicted, are a million times better than they are right here. So I'm helping them to stand up and be courageous. You know, if you didn't do it, you just get up and say you didn't do it. If they convict you because that's the way the law works, then they're going to convict you because that's the way the law works. It is designed to convict you. It is not designed to acquit you. And I want you to look this up, and I want you to tell me next time.
Listen to how fast this shit is getting. Listen to how fast she talks.
Let me talk. How many people in Maricopa County in a murder case get acquitted? I want to know the percentage. Get acquitted, because I bet you it's like less than 1%.
It's not often that we see it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, not when they have that much evidence on you and you freaking killed everybody, but whatever.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So I think for the first time, we see something that could be her baseline. When she's talking about her husband, her ex-husband and her brother being friends, that looks natural. It looks more fluid. She's not down her nose. She's talking.
Because it's true.
And then he gets to, he's not here because he died, and you hear her voice tone soften down to some kind of vulnerability. That, in my opinion, is not vulnerability that you could exploit. It's vulnerability as a tool on her part. Look, he died.
Yes. Sadness for sadness. It wasn't real. It was prophet voice. It was prophet voice. And I don't want to be disrespectful when I say this, but when I was younger, I used to always tell my family that I always thought that the prophet of the LDS church always had this very specific voice. And I noticed that everybody in our church kind of had the same voice. And when they get spiritual, their voice would always drop to almost this hushed tone. And it was always this thing where like, and then I had this experience. And I used to always do President Monson because was that it? I used to always do President Monson because he was the prophet when I was growing up. And he'd always go, brothers and sisters, we are gathered here today. And it's just like that because it's almost like everyone does the same voice. And again, this is no disrespect to my LDS people. I'm just saying you cannot tell me that everybody does not sound the same when they get spiritual. You just can't. You can't convince me otherwise. So it's the same thing though. She does that moment where she knows she has to drop into a voice. And Lori does it too. If you listen to her, when she gets soft, you guys called it the baby voice, whatever the case is. I just call it the prophet voice because it's almost a forced change. It's a forced change of your voice from this position to a different position, almost to make it seem whatever the case is. If I could pull up President Monson talking, I sound identical to him. I'm just saying.
And I think this is a person that if you push her, she goes from 0 to 60 pretty damn quick. I mean, we see what she's doing here. If you could get her in her own environment where she's got some control, I bet she would be a handful to deal with. And then she starts talking about, you know, these lawyers want to take forever because, yeah, I don't think this woman has a logical bone in her body. Not one. That's the reason she's got this other world she's created, because the reason they want time is to prepare your case. They don't look like a sideshow like you did in front of a jury. She goes through, and then she uses words that mean something in court that she doesn't have any idea of. Mark, we're back to that Dunning-Kruger remark you made. She says, go through the motions. Well, if you'd done that, you probably would have been better, because motions in court mean something. Admission of evidence, non-admission of evidence. And that's exactly what they did, is they used the court procedure to control what was accepted, what wasn't. So you couldn't come in with, you know, your Nephi text or whatever you brought or your own version of that. And then she goes back right after she does that.
I have to tell you guys this. I've only told a select smaller group of people that I was offered Lori's entire defense on a thumb drive from her team. And they, in there, supposedly prove Lori's innocence. Now, at that point, I had just had my stroke, so I was not really, and like I was just kind of pissed off that was even a thought, that you think that I would take my time to read your side of the discovery. But I was offered the entire defense to prove her innocence. And I was just so angry because I know it's not true. So why would I want to even spend my time reading your side of the story that basically just would make Charles look like a bad person and that he died? So Kelsey wants the thumb drive. So yeah, I just don't know what I would do. It would be, first of all, really hard, but I mean, you guys know there's a part of me that is curious of what she could have possibly, because she's okay. So if you have all of that evidence, but you didn't present it in court, then what were you doing? Why would you not present it in court? And that was kind of the sell of it is, well, a lot of this wasn't present in court. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any logical sense. So, but it's just bringing up that memory. Like, why would she say all this stuff and have so much evidence to prove that she's innocent and not be able to prove that?
Back to that smiling and laughing, bonding again, but her brow stops. I mean, all of that stops and her brow goes down, and she's trying to control the situation when she starts talking about this new calling she's got. So she's gone from in heaven, as opposed to in the Navy, to in prison, as opposed to in the Navy. So now she's isolating herself yet again. She's a holy warrior. And Chase, I think you brought something almost exactly those words up. But my last line in this one says, she's a holy warrior personality type. And in one of my books a long time ago, I talked about people who get on topic and they're holy warriors. And no matter what you have, no matter the facts, they don't matter because you don't understand. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah. Look, her voice softens way out of her baseline, although she did it earlier. And I can't
You're so petty.
remember where, but she did it earlier in one of the other videos. He's not here for me to ask him anymore. There's feigned emotion there. And the reason I would say it's feigned emotion is it switches. It turns on a dime rather than building and then decreasing away. It's like a switch on of emotion, of sorrow, and then a switch off. And it's so far out of her baseline and so switched that I immediately go, okay, that's false. That's not a real emotion. Here's for me, just to add to what you're saying there, Greg, is this Dunning-Kruger effect, is she's representing herself for all the women in here. She's not doing it for her. She's doing it for all the women. So she's not doing it because she's a narcissist suffering from an acute case of Dunning-Kruger effect.
Right.
She's doing it because she truly feels for the plight of women.
She's not just doing, she's saying that's why she's there. You have to bring the God context in. You have to see that she's saying that this is the position she's been put in by God himself. You understand that when someone goes to that level, they're making sure that you really can't argue with them about anything because we're talking about God. So that's what you have to bring the religious context into it. And I think that's really important.
In jails. And then she goes to, this will have zero effect on me in eternity, zero effect. And we get a point, she goes into symmetry. Now I agree she's handcuffed together. So it's very hard to be in asymmetry. But for other parts of this, she is in asymmetry. This is the moment where her hands come right into frame. Great symmetry, dexterous moves. I think, I'm not sure she believes truly that she is going to be in, it'll have zero effect on her in eternity. But she is adamant to display that to us. Adamant, because that's her brand, is that everybody, obviously apart from me, have not had near-death experiences like her. Now, I understand.
No, it's not that. That's the thing that we have to understand it and distinguish between having a near death, like what he said he had, and said that he saw the light and then came back, and like you can have people recording that you flatlined. There's no record that Lori flatlined. There's no record that Lori died in childbirth. There's no record of any of that. And if there is, please show me. Please show me the record that she passed away slightly, that she flatlined while she was giving birth to Tylee, because it's absolutely not true. But you have to bring in the context that once she almost died, that was her portal. Okay? And I hate that word, but that was her portal to the bigger universe. This was like realizing that there's 50 Spider-Men or 1 million Spider-Men that all live in different places. It was that. It was the splitting and fractioning of time. It's a movie. It's a movie concept.
We're from the same block. Me and her. We're not in Chads. We're not Chad big, but we're big. But for you other mortals out there, you couldn't possibly know the effect of eternity can have. You couldn't possibly know that. And I agree, Greg, there is a massive lack of logic here. Just because women don't get acquitted often does not mean they were innocent. It could mean that the feedstock into the system is a pretty high quality feedstock of criminality. Okay. It could mean a whole bunch of other things, but we'd have to like test it to work out what does it mean. I think in this case, in her case, the feedstock into the system is pretty high quality criminal feedstock. And I would imagine that's why she's not getting acquitted. Number one, feedstock is good. Her defense is terrible, but even if her defense was brilliant, probably the feedstock is good enough that she's not going to get acquitted. That for me would be more logical than her approach. Chase, what do you got?
Brother, don't try to find logic here. Don't do it.
There's two faces here, and both of those faces matter that we see. And the first one we see is anger. She's furious at the court system. She's bitter about how the trial's working and how very few people get acquitted and how the deck is kind of stacked. And that's important because it's pure externalization. Nothing is her fault. Nothing is about the evidence. It's always someone else's system, somebody else's story. But then we see another side here when Lori talks about eternity. Mark, like you were saying, when she talks about standing up for herself and helping other women, that's the real calm. It's like a stillness that feels different from the rehearsed answers that she gives everywhere else. And it's not just delusion.
I think that's her. Yeah, she's giving herself an assignment to keep her brain active or to act like she's here for something. If you're alone all day, every day, you would go insane very quickly. And so whatever interaction she has with those people is probably her submissive way of making sure that she keeps human connection, which is I'm helping you with your case or working out, whatever she said she does for these women. Do not let her help you with your case.
If you've ever studied near-death experiences, you know they leave a very deep, indelible mark on people. It's kind of a permanent shift in how they view life and death. Lori's belief in the eternity that she's talking about, I don't think it's purely an act. I think she has seen something and she's kind of building around that. I don't think
she saw anything. I really am telling you, I really think this is fabrication of wanting so badly to have seen or have an experience to the point of fabricating a moment in where she had the experience. I'm really telling you, I really am telling you she did not have that experience because she would never said a word about it. Ever. Stephanie says, happy birthday, Kelsey. Colby, take her to dinner. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thank you. She's going to have a good day tomorrow. You guys are very kind. Yeah, I mean, there's just absolutely nothing about Lori's life where she almost got, almost died. Not one single thing. And I don't think she ever had a traumatic event like getting hit by a car or anything like that where it even be in the realm of possibility where she had that kind of situation.
I think it's a hustle. I think it's one of the very few things that appears to be genuine that she's saying. But I'm not sure that she fully believes it, but I'm sure she has witnessed something that helps her to have that conviction. In her voice, there's not defensiveness or scrambling. There's some certainty there, but that doesn't erase what she did. It doesn't excuse the devastation that she caused, but it does explain why she can sit there like convicted of these crimes and still sound peaceful when she talks about the future. That might explain it. I think in her mind, she's already past this. Mm-hmm. The court system doesn't matter. Public opinion doesn't matter according to what she says. It's just her version of eternity.
Yeah.
And I will say this.
If you get eternally focused and you think you're good for eternity, but that's the point. The other parts of the shame and the hurt and the guilt is there too. So
you mixed spiritual revelations with narcissism and mental disorders, you get one thing every single time. And that is absolute certainty. Mm-hmm. Spiritual revelations in normal people, if you look at the research dating hundreds of years back, thousands of years, typically lead to more questions than answers. That's all I'll say about that. Scott, what do you got?
All right, if we follow the logic of what we've seen so far, when she starts getting quieter and fading facts and her voice goes into that vocal fry thing, she's been deceptive, we'll say, at that point. So when she talks about this intervention and she thought it was something else, I think she knew exactly what the intervention was, that it wasn't an intervention. It wasn't something else that this interviewer is supposed to understand, like she talks.
So just so we have context again, since we just learned all about this was actually the first time I've ever really heard what the situation was, that Adam and Brandon and Charles were planning on having an intervention with Lori to get her temple taken away, and her church membership probably would get taken away. Possibly, I don't know. I think that's dependent on the bishop, but which is the leader of your ward that you would go to talk about that kind of stuff. So that was the plan, I guess, that they were going to try to get her, because she was ruining her own marriage with Charles and then ruining Brandon and Melanie Pulowski's relationship as well. And so that was the whatever. That was the plan. That was their intervention. And she's saying that she even said, I didn't feel that. I feel that now. So it wasn't like she believed that truly that someone was going to hurt her or take her life. That all of that is to play on that idea, the Nephi idea. They knew what they were going to do. They knew the plan for Charles, and they're sick people, and they knew the plan the whole time. So I don't know what all this other stuff is just additives.
About it. So there's something else that's nothing. Then she pushes the responsibility of calling the cops on this guy, Alex. And she's like, yeah, I was getting the kids out of danger. The same kids that she killed, later on. She's all worried about getting them out of danger. And when she says danger, she eye blocks. So that lets us know she's full of it there as well. And so far, this is the most animated
because of what happened. There was no danger.
She's been. And I talked about in, I think, the first clip, how we see something where she almost explodes into a fireworks display of body language. Well, here it is, because everything she's been doing so far, we've seen these little bursts of energy, and her body language ramps up, but everything goes up here. Your tone of voice gets tighter, and the volume gets louder. Mm-hmm. Everything happens here. She starts talking faster. Her cadence speeds up.
Very, very fast.
Everything. She starts moving around a lot more. She becomes much more animated. And these little movements she's making, we were talking about the synapses earlier with chickens and little birds and things, they're just flying everywhere. So she is literally exploding with excitement here, because I think she's worried about what this interviewer is thinking about her. So
yeah, well, that's her biggest fear of all things. That's why it's so interesting to watch her be a villain too. She was very, very hypersensitive to people's opinion of her, and she wanted everybody to like her. And so I think she played a role of like me, love me, care about me. I'm cool. I'm this. I'm the cool mom. I'm this. She played a role her whole life because she doesn't know who she is. So I think everybody, until they start to figure themselves out in some way, plays a role. Like, obviously you can say like, oh, well, you're a different person behind closed doors or things like that. But I mean, this is extremely, like, she had no identity. And she had no idea who she was, and she wanted so badly to be like every other human being, to feel loved, to feel special, to feel cared for. But she took all of that and corrupted what we're supposed to naturally want and desire. She went and corrupted that and became this evil version. And so she's having to play the evil part on top of her true desire, which is to, be a human being. So it just goes back. It must go back to her entire life, her childhood, her failed marriages, how she feels about herself. All of this plays a factor into this hyper religious view of herself to make herself such a dominant, special person. If you've ever heard of Jezebel, that is what we refer to as of Lori as well, is Jezebel of a woman who's, a very dominant over men now, like basically turning your pain into dominance, if that makes any sense. Thank you, Retro Queen.
If one of these had happened once for just a few seconds, that's one thing, or a couple of them, even two or three of them. But you've got these that are happening for an extended period of time during this questioning section right here. So I think she's probably full of it. I don't know how to say it any nicer than that. So then she gets settled down and she drops back into that normal cadence and rhythm she's been into, but then it fires up again in a couple of seconds. But as it comes toward the end, everything sort of gets back down to normal. And when she laughs about saying I didn't do anything, she's in prison for life. That's not funny. She shouldn't be. She shouldn't be laughing about that. When you watch this again, watch what I'm talking about, because she says I didn't do anything, and she's laughing at that. It's not funny. I don't know. I don't know.
It's deferment. It's uncomfortability. She knows that she did, and so that's her way of like brushing everything off.
Where you have to be psychologically to be able to look at that and laugh as you're talking about it. I didn't do anything. you get up and you say, look, man, and that's all you talk about is how you didn't do anything. I know in prison, everybody didn't, there's nobody guilty in prison. But when you get your chance to be on TV, that's all you say is, I didn't do it. Listen, man, I'm telling you, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. All of that. And there's none of that in there.
So you were referring to the intervention.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's kind of what Pulowski explained in her interview. I got to get away from Lori. I'm scooting over here. So Pulowski kind of explained something. I think I inherited this for a short amount of time. I realized that I would kind of uncomfortably laugh at certain situations. But this is another level. Like, she's laughing and hers is evil. Hers is not, I'm uncomfortable, like when you're, you know, having an uncomfortable moment and you're trying to lighten the mood or keep yourself regulated. It's more of like, hers is like laughing. Like she's, you know, having a good time. It's very different. There's different levels. So that kind of just gets to that point of picking hairs, but
what they call an intervention. Now I don't believe that's what it was at all.
What did you believe?
I think they have other plans completely.
But if you didn't know that then what were you worried about?
So when Charles died, why did you guys wait 47 minutes to call 911? That became a huge part
I didn't wait any time. I didn't wait any time.
Well, I guess you didn't call at all.
Because
Alex called.
That's right. It was his responsibility in my mind that he took over and was handling that situation. I was getting the kids out of danger.
Do you think he should have called sooner?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah.
You do.
I think he probably freaked out. You know, Charles and Alex were friends for years. Like,
see, and like this is where you have to watch where she sprinkles truths in, because we can start to assess where she's telling the truth, when she slows down, when she's being honest versus when she's not.
Alex lived with us for like 6 months in 2018, and he and Charles would hang out all weekend and they go do stuff together. And Charles loved Alex and Alex loved Charles. Like, this just happened this day the way that it happened, and it was a tragedy. You know, Alex.
Did you see the speed change? I don't know about the 6 months thing. I don't remember Alex being there for that long, but I do remember Alex, something to that degree of Alex staying at their house while he was waiting for her to buy a house or move or something to that degree. But
probably freaked out as I was of the whole situation. So I don't know why he did what he did. And, you know, he's not here for me to ask him anymore.
That drop right there, the voice, completely.
Do you regret representing yourself in this trial?
No.
Why?
It's for the same reasons I told you before about getting a speedy trial. Mm-hmm. I'm doing that for all the women in here that have been sitting here for so
nothing to do with other women. Nothing.
Many years, you know. And I told you, like, I wouldn't expect attorneys to be able to do that. They want more time, you know. So, you know, I'll continue to go through the motions, and, you know, we have another trial coming up in a couple of weeks. We have lots to do for that trial and preparing and getting ready. And maybe some of those things will be cleared up in this trial. You know, they filed a motion that they're going to bring in everything now.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so if the judge allows that, which,
who knows?
What do you think he's going to do?
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't know.
You tell me what you think he's going to do, Brianna.
Well,
you think he's going to say, no 404B, we're not going to let any of that stuff in? I mean,
the judge was relatively patient with you, I thought, throughout the trial.
Did you?
Well,
No,
I think he was helping you. One more. Given that you were just found guilty, and I know you don't like the jail conditions, would you change your plea in Brandon's trial?
No.
Why?
Will I change it? No. Because I didn't do anything. So, no, you have to.
Yeah, and that's where she's... Okay, so this is interesting. Wow. I've never put this all together because we're really diving deep in the psychology world right now. She's not lying in certain regards of... when she's telling the truth, it's selective, very, very, very picking hair selective. She didn't take the shot. She didn't drive to Arizona. She is telling a lying truth in the sense of she blames, just like with like all the little moments we've caught her in different things. She's not telling you. She's telling you the truth that she didn't do it. She didn't take the shot. So that's how she says, I didn't do anything, because she didn't physically do it. That's kind of what I'm starting to see here, is that's where she can say those things with more conviction, less shame, less worry. I don't know.
There comes a point when you just have to stand up, regardless of what they do to you, right? Like, this will have zero effect on me in eternity.
You're so punchable. Like, just... You're just so punchable. It's just the only word I can think of.
Zero effect on me in eternity. And I already know that. So I'm here to help whatever women I can help in here be courageous and stand up for themselves, because it's a system that bogs you down. These women are bogged down. They've been here for years. They've been treated horrible in this situation, and they've been treated horrible by their own attorneys, you know?
It's different in this situation, though. You went through a trial and the jury found you guilty of all of that. And now you're here, and then you go through another separate one and you're found guilty again. That's not a mistake.
They've been treated like, okay, they've been here for 8, 9, 10 years waiting to go to trial, when the conditions at the prison, even if they got convicted, are a million times better than they are right here. So I'm helping them to stand up and be courageous. You know, if you didn't do it, you just get up and say you didn't do it. If they convict you because that's the way the law works, then they're going to convict you because that's the way the law works. It is designed to convict you. It is not designed to acquit you. And I want you to look this up, and I want you to tell me next time we talk, how many people in Maricopa County in a murder case get acquitted? I want to know the percentage get acquitted, because I bet you it's like less than 1%.
It's not often that we see it. That's for sure.
When she was in Arizona and I called her, they were in a block with, she was in a block with other women. I don't think she has a cell with anybody else, but I know they can talk to each other through the door or see each other. She's in 23 hours locked down, 1 hour out. So she can probably go and up to people's doors and talk to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've seen Lori Vallow Daybell in her interview, which I think went fairly well. Mark, what'd you see?
What did I say? Listen, I just want to shout out again, Brianna Whitney. I think it's a really good interview. By video 3 there, hits a really great question, plays it really well, and gets a really interesting response out of the subject. So congratulations on that. It could have gone all kinds of ways. I think it went well as an interview. Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess for me, it's so personal, so I can't be a critiquing of interviews. I've done a very small amount of interviews, and in no way, shape, or form am I professional in that category. But I just have a different interview style. My style is just way more. I just have more follow-up questions. I think you can't really do that with Lori, but I think that's where it's like every time I listen to it, it just felt redundant. It felt all the interviews started to get redundant. She didn't really say too much more. She knew what she wanted to say, and she knew that whoever she was talking to, she wanted to pitch the same exact thing. So it didn't really change my mind ever.
I agree. And I think this case is a blueprint for what happens when you have delusion and manipulation and a total lack of empathy all mixing together.
Yeah.
And the consequences are not just theoretical. There's horrible stuff that happened. And you're not looking at somebody who broke under pressure. It's somebody who rewrote reality in her own head. And with that new reality, she destroyed everything that didn't fit the new narrative or the new story.
Yeah. It's like I said, writing a story. That's a perfect example. Like, you find this fantasy guy who writes stories, who creates this world for you, and then you literally take that to another level and start applying it to your own brain. And it's like you're living in a movie where you can erase, past things, and you can erase people, and you can erase things, and you just literally full-blown fantasy land, like completely detached from all reality.
And no matter what she believes now, I think those kids, Tylee and JJ, their names are going to outlive every lie that she's ever told. And I hope they do. Greg?
Because nothing that Lori has said has been honest about Tylee and JJ. And she tries to make Tylee look like this unbelievably sick child. And she just, this is her thing. She's had the microphone, unfortunately, to say these things. And that's the thing that I keep telling you guys. And especially like our members, you guys know, like, I'm working on telling the reality of the story, because that is not their story. And that's not who Tylee and JJ were. That's not who Charles was. And that's not who Tammy was. And they shouldn't be remembered as these victims to this crazy psychopath. They were human beings who lived a life, who left an impact forever. And that's their legacy, not this. So yeah, of course they will.
Yeah, when you hang out with folks who died, expect something different. So lesson I learned here. Here's an interesting piece. This is the definition of Dunning-Kruger. I mean, if you were taking this woman and you took her to task against the religion she professed, I'll guarantee you she thinks she knows more about it than she did. She uses the words.
I want to know what Dunning-Kruger is. I need to research this term they've used the entire episode.
Just like she did the attorney stuff. Hey, I'm good enough to be my own attorney. There's no reason why we should wait. Let's just rush it. Oh, there's things called motions. I think what we're seeing is the extension of that personality type that is so narcissistic. They understand more than you do about everything. So you can't possibly argue or pin them down and make them feel any guilt. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you could say it's riding the line of psychopathy on here, because that lack of empathy is it's just profound.
It is, but that's what I'm saying. I swear it's manufactured. A part of it is real. She always has had a lack of empathy, but there's not a void of any kind of empathy. Maybe there is. I just feel like when I look at Chad and I've researched more into him and I hear him talk, he truly, I feel, is absolutely void of any empathy. I feel like Lori has a small amount even for her own self. That's the only differentiating factor there.
When you stop and look at it. And there are a lot of things that are very similar in this situation that you would see in a psychopath. However, there are some differences that from a psychopath in this personality type that we don't see. It is a dangerous personality type, but not as dangerous as a psychopath. We can see too much, what I believe would be real emotion going on here, even though it's manipulative and it's a lot of deception going on in here. I don't think we're dealing with psychopaths here. But boy, it sure rides the line when you start breaking it down and looking at it from that perspective. All right, fellas, I think this is another good one, and we'll see you next time.
Wow. Hey, big shout out to the behavior panel. If you guys are interested in their content, I think they did a great job. You guys can go subscribe to them. I linked their channel in the description and you guys can go check them out. I think that was great to hear people who are experts who understand this stuff way better than I do myself. I obviously am just speaking from my opinion and just telling you what I think and feel. You know, a lot of people have asked me questions like that about Tylee and JJ, about, you know, legacy, about them and this and that. So just know that is in the works, and I will continue to tell you guys that is something that has always mattered to me. It's mattered to me since, you know, when we made the Netflix documentary. That was the whole point of the Netflix documentary. And, you know, just so you guys know. But I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Mods, thank you for everything you guys do. Big shout out to our warriors, our chiefs, some other friggin' ones, but I love our community. I appreciate every single one of you. If you're new here, just know that this is not the only thing that we focus on. We like to talk about, you know, all kinds of different things. And the most important thing is learning and growing and being better, helping each other. And I just want to remind you guys that, you know, take the most out of today and just love your family, love the people you're around, love your friends, and realize that, you know, every day really truly is precious and it just flies by. And then one day everything's changed. And I pray to God that never happens to you. I'm just saying, remember that every day is special. And I think we get caught up sometimes in the motion, and we get caught up in life, and we get caught up in what is going to happen tomorrow, and the worries and the doubts and the fears and just everything. So just remember to be grounded today, to know that you matter, that you're loved, that you have a community here. Yeah, just remember that you are loved and this community loves you. And that's what we're here to do, is be here for you and be here for each other. So thank you guys, because for me, you're here for me. So thank you. Thank you for walking this journey out with me and everything. And then lastly, yes, Kelsey's birthday is tomorrow. Thank you guys all for your love and support of Kelsey. I do appreciate you. And we're going to go have a good day for her birthday and celebrate her. So I will not be streaming tomorrow. We usually stream through the week, but we will have tomorrow off. And then Ava's birthday this is birthday. January is our packed month. Kelsey and I had our anniversary on the 6th. Kelsey's birthday is tomorrow. Ava's birthday is the 18th. And then our oldest daughter's birthday is on the 5th of February. So it is a packed few weeks for our family. But this is also a really happy and beautiful time for our family. So I'm really grateful for that. Other than that, thank you guys so much for being here. I do appreciate you and love you. And I will see you guys very, very soon.